Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, welcome to a very, very special movie episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who remember the 5th of November.
Hey everybody, it's Kenneth Sanity, and I am absolutely not a Catholic extremist trying to kill the king.
This is Joe Butler, and I'm not talking about the Penguin or the Riddler. I'm talking about the government, Batman.
And I'm Bill from A Gamer Looks at 40. And am I the only one who really wants one of those eggs in the toast breakfasts? Because that thing looked freaking delicious. With butter.
It's super easy to make.
Is it? Because, man,
Yes.
I want one so bad. I can't. Is it just literally just putting a pole on a piece of bread and cooking an egg in it? Is that literally all it is?
Yes.
Fantastic. That's what's happening tomorrow. Because that thing is so tasty.
When I watched this movie, I told Tiff, I'm like, I'm going to make that for you. She's like, please do. I was like, that looks good.
You don't have to flip it either. Like, I don't know how the fuck you do that part, but yeah, you can just put a hole on a piece of bread and put an egg in there, and it'll kind of combine, and you flip it and bullshit.
It's just the butter. All that butter on there just seemed really good.
I make a lot of eggs now. I got into a thing where I make eggs with ramen now as part of one of my meals all the time.
Yeah.
It actually adds a lot to ramen when you add an egg or two. I don't know why, but it really makes it better.
Look at this, Mike Albertin. 5 years ago, man, you're watching indie horror movies. You're watching foreign films from made 40 years ago. You're eating fancy ramen food with the egg in it now. Look at you, cultured man. Fantastic.
I started cooking eggs, and Tiff loves eggs, so I make her eggs a lot.
What? Welcome to recipes my mom found with Mike
right?
Albertin.
Pretty much. Oh, and before we go any farther, I don't normally do this, but we are going to get political because the topic is political. And this comes out on November 5th, 2024, which happens to be the day of an election. And yes, that was all planned. This is not coincidence. I completely planned this like over a year ago. So,
Yo.
I've been waiting years to do this. So we are going to get political. We are going to say comments. We'll see how far I get before I go on it. I'm going to try to keep my tangents to later in the episode, but I can't promise that. But I just want to give you a warning because I normally don't get too political on this podcast, but I will. But if you are listening to this, because this will actually drop in the morning, November 5th, go vote if you're in the United States, which most of our listeners are. Go vote. Do your part duty. I vote every time now because my mouth opens up and I talk so much shit that I have to vote. Otherwise, I'm a hypocrite. So
I already voted. I am done.
Should have. I have not.
I've already voted. And vote local too. Actually care about your local government as much as the national government, because it actually matters more to your personal way of life. So
yeah, the way that my voting is going to go is anybody who had any sign that I see next to on the same house with a Trump flag, I know, don't vote for any of those people. Thank you guys. That's been my way to do it. So
foolproof plan.
Just to have added proof to vote for your government, today it was officially announced. Bill, you live in Texas, right?
I do.
Greg Abbott just passed a bill today saying that if you go to a hospital, the hospital has the right to ask you if you're a U.S. citizen.
Wow. Wowie zowie.
And you have to answer. That's great. You have to answer. Yep.
Cool. Great. Do I have to show my papers too now? Is that what's going to happen? Jeez.
They said it's a simple yes or no question, which I believe is bullshit.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
What happens if you say no ticket? You go out to the hospital?
I have no idea, honestly.
So we are here to talk about V for Vendetta, the film directed by James McTeague and came out in 2006 in the United States. I have two numbers. That's why I'm confused. Oh, okay. It was in an event in 2005, but then officially released in 2006.
Hey, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the same guy that made Watchmen?
No.
Okay.
Oh, Zack Snyder.
Yeah, Watchmen is Zack Snyder.
No. Comic.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
This movie is based on a graphic novel by Alan Moore.
Yeah, that guy hates these movies.
That's because that guy signed a really shitty contract because he got tricked essentially.
Oh,
Fair.
No. There's a really good reason why he hates this one in particular.
Do tell.
Please.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It's something in the movie.
Oh, it's the entire movie.
Yeah, he's not a fan of this movie.
Really?
I thought it was Watchmen he super hated.
He hates
That
everything.
too.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He also hates From Hell. He also hates League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
He likes Sin City.
It wasn't his.
I made it.
He doesn't do it that one. Well, the part of it, like, I didn't know all the. Today I was watching a YouTube video and they talked a little bit about the contract. Apparently, he didn't have a lawyer look at it. He trusted the two people and then he just signed it. So, yeah.
Oh boy.
It happened.
And they screwed him over.
Of course they did. You're like, you're just gonna sign this. Oh, you're not gonna. Yeah. Trust us. It's fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry.
Yep, that's what he did. He went, I trust you guys. You guys sound, really nice. I'll just sign this contract. I'm excited.
Oh, how pure-hearted.
And he owned V for Vendetta, and he owned Watchmen before he signed that contract.
Ooh,
He gave up his IP, essentially.
Yikes.
Oh, God.
I thought he was hired to make them for DC, and then like, yeah, you'll own it once we stop publishing it. That's different. No, he owned them before he went to DC, and they bought it from him and pretty much took the rights. So
Yikes.
I don't. Also, I've never read the comic book for this.
Has anybody?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't.
I actually read it again for this episode.
Nice. Is it a series or is it just like a long graphic novel?
It is a long graphic novel that came out in a series of 10 issues.
Okay. Cool.
That I want to read someday.
So I guess what the question now is, what's everyone's history with this this movie?
I'll go first. I've seen this multiple times for one reason, and I'm assuming Bill might know the reason.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Natalie
Go ahead.
Portman.
Yep.
So that's why I originally watched this movie, and I love this movie. It's a dark movie. I only watch it here and there, and I have to be in the right mindset, but this is a great fucking film, in my opinion. I just really enjoyed this movie, and I really like Natalie Portman. I think she's an amazing actress. So, is she? I don't know, but she's one of those women that I watch most of her movies.
Not quite ScarJo. Not quite. But
No, I haven't.
quite
There's a lot of
effective.
both of those movies I need to see. Like I've never seen Black Swan, never seen No Strings Attached, but I don't want to see that.
You should watch Black Swan. I heard that movie's fucking amazing.
I do want to watch that, but it's a psychological horror film. Oh man, that's right up my alley.
Yeah,
right.
I've never seen that one either.
Black Swan's fine.
Yeah, it's good. It's
like psychological horror.
It's fine. I agree with Ken on that one. It's probably a little better than fine, but it's right there. She's great in Closer. She plays a stripper, so
Yep.
Never
just so you
seen
know,
that.
she
Not the
is.
one with the pink hair.
Yep,
I
she
need to
is
watch that
great
someday.
in that. She is excellent in that. And then she just stands there in Garden State and makes faces, which is fine too. She got paid for that, so hey.
Never seen that either.
Hey,
Okay, I
you
missed a
can see-
lot of her movies, but this
Yes,
one I've seen
fair.
multiple times.
So you came here for Portman. You came here for Portman. You stuck around for politics and fascism.
I just want to say the first time I saw this, I wasn't even political really. Like I didn't get really into politics till 2016. It's weird. I don't know why I got so into politics 2016, but yeah, I really didn't care. I was like, oh well, both parties are whatever until 2016. I went, no, there's a difference now. Okay, that's all I got. Bill, what about you?
I've seen this movie probably 50 times. This is one of those that was in my famous binder of DVDs I traveled around the country with. In my first job, I spent a lot of time away from home. It was before the advent of streaming, so I would bring with me a DVD player, a variety of tools to break the protection off the back of hotel TVs, and then not pay for their stuff, but actually just watch my own movies. And I always brought movies I knew would be reliable just to sit down and watch. That I could always just put on either in the background while making dinner or just have on. And this is one of the 50 or so that always traveled with me. And this is a movie I like quite a bit. I don't know how much I liked it on this screening, but I still think this is quite good. I don't think I'm as exuberant about it as Mr. Albertin or maybe others. As far as politics go, I'm not very politically inclined. I don't pay attention to politics too much. I know I should, but it just makes me sad. And
That's fair.
it's one of those things where it's like, I just don't need it. So I try to pay attention. I do my civic duty in voting and everything else, but I am not very politically minded. So this will be interesting to see all the different. So I'm coming at this from a filmmaking perspective, not so much a fascism is bad because it is. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Okay. And Ken.
I saw this movie when it came out in theaters.
Nice.
I was pretty hyped to see it, considering the names attached to it. We talked about James McTeague, who really didn't have much of a presence to me. I was more interested in the screenplay being by the Wachowskis, who were famously known for The Matrix by this point.
Yes.
And it was produced by Joel Silver, everybody's favorite alleged cocaine magnate. Plus, it starred, a bunch of people that I enjoyed. So I was pretty excited about it. I've seen it a few times. I still have my Super Bit DVD of it.
Yeah.
That's a blast from the past.
Super bits, because regular bits will not do for the cinephile in your family. Super bits.
Honestly, pretty much. Like, that was the biggest scam.
Such a scam. I have a copy of Snatch on Super Bit.
No wonder it's a scam. I mean, the same guy that was just telling you to get it was also inviting you down to Rapture at the same time. So,
Yeah.
It's the same voice.
That's crazy.
And Joe.
So this was a lot of 2000 movies. I never really saw. A bunch of them really go over my head. This, Wreck-It Ralph, Sin City. For very two specific reasons. Y'all were very much older young men. I was but a wee teenager when this movie came out. So whenever my movie options were very limited to, this movie looks really cool. Grandma, can I have money for it? No, because we're old and we don't have money. Oh, okay. Julia, my sister, do you want to go see this movie? No, I have a boyfriend now, so I'd rather go see a movie with him. Okay, cool. I'll just stay home and be a nerd. So I never saw this movie up until recently. Usually whenever it's on, I remember it being on like FX, but like I always caught the middle, so I didn't understand what the fuck was going on. So I've seen like the scene with like Natalie Portman being reborn in the rain and stuff, and the ending obviously. And I'm just like, I have no idea what this movie's about. And honestly, even with that, I was honestly blown away with this whole fucking movie. Did I have a 5 milligram edible beforehand? Yeah. Does it mean that it wasn't a good movie without being high? No, because honestly, surprisingly, this movie holds up this day and age. And I'm telling anyone now, if you even moderately don't remember or haven't seen this movie, stop listening to us, go watch it real quick and then come back, because I love when movies age surprisingly well, and this one has aged surprisingly well.
This one has aged too well. Okay, like the last time, I don't remember the last time I saw this movie, but it would have been sometime after 2016. And now that we are recording this on November 1st of 2024, and I'm stating that now on purpose because we are going to make comments that we don't know what's going to happen. So we're just going to leave it there. This is the way we're recording it. And so, yeah, this movie is much more relevant. I'm a big history buff. I love World War II stuff. I am very, very educated, in my opinion, when it comes to how Hitler took power, to why he took power, to why people supported him, to what happened. Like, I know more than I would say majority of people do about that subject because I have problems. I just really like it. And watching this movie, like the similarities that I caught now between that and events from not too long in the past, like, yeah, this movie hits differently in 2024.
It's almost as if we should learn from history to avoid repeating ourselves.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think it's less about the movie holding up as it is as nothing else has moved forward in life.
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
That's pretty close.
Really depressing. Like, the comic book is from the 80s, I believe. 80 something or another, 82.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Actually, this started publication in March of 1982 and then finished in 85.
What president was in term during those years?
You shouldn't ask about the president. You should ask about the prime minister, because this is very much
the British.
Yeah, it's very much a response to the Thatcher years.
Was Thatcher that bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I know a little. I mean, but I don't give a shit about Britain because I'm not from Britain, so I don't pay attention to their politics as much.
Thatcher was there, Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that part, but I didn't know much about her.
No, heavy dose of crapulence.
Okay. I mean,
Very
Reagan
bad.
is heavy dose crapulence too, so.
You could draw a straight line from Ronald Reagan to every problem we currently have.
Yeah, you're not wrong. People don't realize that, but if you actually like really look at it and like look at the things he did, yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it really easily. It's there, unfortunately. So,
So we're starting off with this movie. What? Because I love. I mean, Watchmen does it, which is even funnier. What alternate reality thing happened in this that made it happen the way it is?
I don't think they ever say. I think it's just the U.S. kind of collapsed in a sense.
Did it?
I mean, not completely. Like it's not like it doesn't exist. It's not like Handmaid Tales. But it sounds like they're having a civil war. It sounds like things are. But again, you don't know what's true because the only parts you get are from the news. And in this world, you can't trust the news.
Right.
And because it could be propaganda. It is propaganda. Who am I saying it could be? It is in this movie. You don't know what's real. Yeah,
according to the news of the day, the U.S. has fallen into disrepair and to ruin and rot. And in order to prevent England from falling into a similar fate, that's why all this totalitarian, is that right? Basically, fascist government has come in to protect the citizenry from themselves. But I'm sure Ken Sanity could probably do a better synopsis of this movie than I could before we continue on this road. So what do you got, man?
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about V for Vendetta. Young woman Evie Hammond and vigilante fighter V are both drawn together by the forces of fate as V works to overturn his country's fascist government on the eve of a historical plot to do the same.
Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, Mike. I totally hijacked your show. I've been looking forward to that. Okay. I'm like, I really can't wait to hear Ken's synopsis. So I kind of jumped the gun on that a bit.
Oh, no, I needed to happen. So I did not know the story of Guy Fawkes until this movie. And it's not. I might have heard it before, but it didn't matter to me because, again, British.
Well, you probably have heard it before. Guy Fawkes was a terrorist. They grabbed him, and right before they killed him, he told everyone he left everything in one piece.
I mean, kind of.
Someone's gonna yell at me about that joke. Fuck you.
Okay. I don't get it, but I'm assuming it's an anime joke, huh? Right?
It's One Piece.
Oh,
the literal same thing happened in the opening of One Piece.
Yeah, it's literally the story of Gold Roger.
Okay.
But it's the story of a lot of people. And for everybody out here who first learned about Guy Fawkes from this movie, I'm sorry, but you were lied to.
Yeah.
Guy Fawkes is not a hero. There's a reason that they burn effigies of him in England to this day.
Why is that?
He's a bad. Okay, first off, as I said in my introduction, I am not a radical Catholic terrorist. Guy Fawkes was. Trying to blow up the Protestant king and the government of England at the time so that he could install his friend's daughter who was Catholic. This was all a plot to bring Catholicism back to England.
Wow. I didn't know that piece of it. Wow.
It's gross.
Yikes. Okay.
Well, it didn't work out too well for him. So, because he made a mistake, I guess he told people, hey, he told some of the Catholics, don't go to office on November the 5th. I'm going to light a bomb. Yeah. You don't tell people things like that if you expect it to go off without a hitch.
No, yeah.
Keep that to yourself.
Yeah, keep that under your hat.
And now he's the face for a bunch of fat guys who make fun of fat people on the internet.
I mean, Anonymous took over the mask, which is also funny because every sale of that mask essentially goes to WB. They own the rights to it. So, yeah. I mean, you're wearing it for protests, yes, but you're also paying a corporation. So,
look, man, anything you wear to any protest, you're paying a corporation. That's how clothing works. It's unfortunate. That's how the government works. That's how business works.
I know. It's just ironic.
But sometimes you just got to do what you can. Unfortunately, using the mask of somebody who is not a hero, that doesn't work.
So you mean they should wear a Batman mask instead?
Absolutely.
I think the Dark Knight has a word with you, Mr. Michaelton, because I think that's the point of the opening.
I don't care for the 1605 opening, that's whatever, but the opening with Evie getting ready and V getting ready and it jumping back and forth, I fucking love that.
Putting those two in parallel is a really great way to open up the movie.
It is.
Having it so mirroring each other. They're setting up the idea that, these two are going to be related somehow. This is also where the movie makes its first huge departure from the graphic novel.
Oh,
Yep.
In the movie, Evie Hammond is not a 16-year-old prostitute.
I'm okay with that part.
Here's
is that
the thing,
really
though.
what it? That's what it is in the comic. Oh boy.
Yeah, but
Oh wow.
but there's a reason for it. She needed money because she's living in an actual hellscape. Like, it's not glamorizing prostitution. It's, oh God, I have to do this to survive, and I'm really bad at it. So the first guy she tries to pick up is one of the Fingermen, who are essentially Norsefire's secret police. Norsefire being the name of the group that is running things in England now.
Yeah, they're essentially the Gestapo.
Yeah,
What
pretty
they're-
much.
I mean,
Yep.
very much a reference to, and the whole thing, like they talk about in this movie all the time about Creedy's black bags, and you go in one, you never come back. I mean, that's what the Gestapo did. I mean, to be fair, that's what every government, that every like dictatorship has some kind of secret police, and hey, every time it's the same thing, you disappear.
Oh, it sounds like extraordinary rendition from the Bush days.
Yeah.
Remember that I said that. We'll talk about that later.
Well,
Yes.
put a pin in that one.
Oh my God, it's the Court of Owls.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Old white folk trying to say this is how things go.
Lizard people?
Probably. Probably.
But yes, no, that because with it coming out in 2006, I know people thought there were comments about the Bush thing. So
So
No.
I
For good reason, but anyway.
yes,
have a really knowing this movie came out in 2006 and knowing how old I was in 2006 is extremely jarring because kids my age saw this movie, completely got the wrong message from this fucking movie.
Oh, yeah. That and Fight Club.
Yeah.
There are some people who got the wrong message from yes. Yeah.
Now,
Oh, God,
to
yeah.
be fair, Fight Club was also butchered from the book.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it is a book.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It is a far departure from the actual novel. Yes.
Well, if I can basically give a really weird example too, especially because of the year this came out with too as well, because y'all did mention it. It's really weird to see because obviously this movie came out to America and have people sit there and go, "Oh man, what a weird, quirky movie." In England, they believe the government's lying to them. That sure is weird. Meanwhile, Bush is on the news saying that fucking September 11th was the reason behind fucking terrorists and all this other stuff. And it's like, oh, our government would never lie to us.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting stuff in this movie, and you're right. I think this is one of those where it can be very misunderstood, and the wrong lesson can be learned.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll talk about it as we go through it. But back to that open, I do agree. I think it's a very effective open. I love the parallels between Natalie Portman and V. And this opening of V being out after curfew. Remember when the idea of having a curfew is just unthinkable here in the US of A? A curfew?
we
And
kind
then-
of had one.
We sure did. Them
we
COVID days.
Absolutely. Oh, not even just COVID days. I seem to remember a time in 2020 in the good old town of Kenosha, Wisconsin,
Oh,
where there were a whole bunch of protests, which we actually revisited on the last episode that we did that was political, the X-Men novel that we did.
X-Men God Loves, Man Kills. That was
Yep.
a while ago.
That was a while ago. It was right when it was going on. We absolutely had a time that it was recommended to get off the street by
ooh.
because the town was burning.
Speaking of that, real quick, real small tangent. Bill,
Yes.
have you seen X-Men 97 yet?
No, I have not.
Okay, you need to get on that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, just give me a couple hours. I'll be right back. We will do. Okay, I have to get on it. Okay, all right. I've heard enough people say good things about it where I have to put it on the list.
Yeah. If we're talking about politically inspired comics, that new X-Men TV show, X-Men 97, was completely I'm surprised Disney let them release that in this day.
Me too.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Anyways, the Fingermen get fingered by V.
Yes, the V comes down and the Fingermen are getting all gross with Natalie Portman. It's a very effective in establishing character and who she is, and she's out and about after curfew, and V comes in to save the day. But
think
some
what's-
good old fashioned Matrix style kickassery.
I think what's so interesting about that is that this frames him as a hero, but he is not a hero.
No, he's very much so an anti-hero. Again, he's exhibit, and we've talked about your anti-heroes on this show quite a bit. We've talked about it with Dirty Harry. We've talked about it with other characters. The thing with an anti-hero is it's great when they're making what you think is the right choice because they're the ones they're the ones exhibiting justice. And the question always becomes, what makes you the arbiter of justice on these people? Now, luckily in V for Vendetta, these people, everyone that he dispatches in this movie really needs to go. There are no shades of gray in this. There's no nuance in V for Vendetta, which when you have a topic like this, it's very easy to paint it in broad strokes, which is why I think a lot of people probably got the wrong message from it because it is painted in such fun, big, broad strokes. However, in the real world, extremism is usually not great and vigilantism is not great because, again, who makes you judge, jury, and executioner?
I don't know. Sometimes you can be a vigilante in Kenosha and end up on a rally. That's one of the guest speakers. You just never know.
Do not speak his name.
I will not say his name, but I will make the joke.
No, you know what? If anyone's going to do it, let me do it. Hey, fuck Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, is that where we're going with that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's from Kenosha. He can say.
No, he's not.
No, you're from Kenosha,
from
not him.
Illinois.
I know. He had no right to be, no reason to be there. He was just there to commit murder. So.
Gotcha.
Fucking cunt. And, sorry.
Yeah, don't be. I don't care. I mean, the guy is a murderer. Convicted or not, he's still a murderer. Like, it doesn't change the fact. When you shoot unarmed people, you are a murderer.
I like to verify, ever since, if you listen to this podcast, since the Bayonet episode, Mike said it's okay to say cunt, so...
I don't care. I ain't going to say it. But I don't care. So... I mean, yeah. Unless it's, it's not meant. I wouldn't like it if it was meant as a derogatory term for a woman. But we're not. We're talking about a fucking murderer, so that's okay then.
And this is a British movie, right? So we're using.
Oh yeah. I forgot it's a British word too. No. I mean, I like the idea with the fingermen. I like the fact that they're all the actors they got are all older white men. And like when I was watching this movie. Everybody is a white man that's in power. Like that's just like you are hitting fascism on the nose. Like, and I'm like, and that's stuff I didn't really pick up before as much. I love that. And one of the first things that V says, I also really appreciate when he talks to Natalie and she's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Who? I'm a man in a mask." I mean, I know I butchered the line because it didn't have it yet. But I just like it how, who are you? He's like, who is what the form with the following the function of what? And what I am is a man in a mask. I love that because it's like someone in a mask is not going to tell you who they are. That's why they're wearing the mask.
Right. It's yeah.
I just
this introduction to V as the verbose, almost vaudevillian showman of a vigilante. I've used a lot of V words in there already. Oh, right. I didn't even need to. That's weird.
On brand.
Very on brand. I enjoy this because it makes him very different. Within the first 10 minutes of this movie, you know that you're dealing with a different sort of superhero or super character. I like this quite a bit. I think I like it less as the years have gone on and I've seen it 50 times because it is very written and extremely almost overwritten. But I still appreciate it for what it's trying to do. And I land on the side of I'm okay with this. This is a fun open to this character.
You know why V talks like that?
Why?
Because he's fucking crazy.
Yeah, is it crazy? Right. Yeah, exactly. And again, talking about not missing the lesson, he is a crazy person. And as we're going to see in this movie, does lots of crazy things. And he's not great, not a great person. Like he's not good. Again, you're gonna
what he does. Like you can. I was watching this movie a couple days ago, and I actually watched this movie twice. And I was thinking about like it is almost vague enough, depending on how stupid you are, that you could fit either political spectrum in there as the villain and see V as two different ways. You could see V as fighting. It all depends on your perception. And yes, they're very obviously saying this is fascism. This is this is far, right wing. This is what Nazism is. Like they show it, like the fact that the villains are constantly being like, for God, I'm a God-fearing man. And whenever I hear anyone say God-fearing, I just want to hang my head and go, "You dumbass!" every time. Like, there's nothing wrong with being, with having God and believing, but when you start saying God fearing, that it always rubs me the wrong way, because like you don't need to. That's if we're gonna do that, why don't we go out back in the 1700s and go find ourselves a nice hot witch to kill us? That's what you should do then for God fearing. That's what I think.
Oh God, if only. God damn.
Hot witch.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you could find one in Salem, I'm sure.
I have one more goofy thing I just want to talk about because it still stays on the same tangent real quick. I also love, so when this movie came out, every 13 to 18-year-old guy was like, yeah, that's what you got to be. Just the cool, mysterious guy who has a bunch of knives. That's what ladies like. And I'm sitting here, probably if I had seen him when I was a kid, I would have been the same thing. But being a 30-year-old grown man, I'm like, wow, this guy's a fucking loser. He is a probably 40-year-old man who dresses up in cosplay as favorite historical person and never takes it off. Not even because he's ugly, but because he's constantly cosplaying. And then you have people who are like, oh, well, he's so cool and mysterious. He wakes up Natalie Portman from watching a movie where he's pretending to fence like he's in the movie.
I'm okay with.
He's a fucking dork, too. That's what I'm getting at. It's like, look, fellas, you really want to get ladies, be yourself. Be a little weirdo. They like that. It's fine. Don't think the cool, mysterious part's the cool part. The little freaky part. The little freaky part is the good part.
I can vouch for that. I was the mysterious, silent guy in high school. I just didn't say much because people made fun of me. And so I didn't talk. I was like, I care about video games. You guys don't care about that. So we're not,
And now you're a big goof who has a podcast with over like 10,000 listeners. There we go. See, it works.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all have our places in this world.
That came later. But yeah, no. I mean, but I've never carried knives. I don't like knives. I like knives better than guns, but I don't care for knives. I mean, nothing wrong with people who have knives, whatever. I don't care. But I just don't like knives.
I love knives.
I can believe that.
I'm too klutzy. I don't trust myself with knives. I just know. We tried to carve. Halloween was just right around the corner as of this recording, or as of this release too. Halloween. Uh-huh. A couple of years ago, my wife was like, "Oh, let's carve jack-o'-lanterns." And I was like, "Oh, let's carve jack-o'-lanterns. That sounds fun." So we get all the kits. And by the way, you should know this by now. Keep this in your brain for next year. Don't buy the dumb $5 pumpkin carving kit from your local Walgreens. Like, don't do that, because those things don't work worth a damn. They are completely useless devices. They're terrible. So we go to start, and my wife starts cutting away with an X-Acto knife, and next thing you know, gave herself a nice 6-inch gash on her hand. Off to the emergency room we go, and a few stitches later, and a big old bandage. So that was the end of that. So again, I don't trust myself with knives. If my wife, who is extremely handy and good with power tools and such, has that kind of issue with a knife, then I have no chance. So
there is only one knife I've ever liked. I worked in a produce department, and I don't know where the fuck this knife came from. We had a knife that could cut through any fucking fruit, and we tested this. We threw up pineapples in the air and sliced it with a knife like it was a sword, and it cut right through it. It was wonderful until one of my dumbass coworkers told our boss, and then the knife disappeared. I'm like, why'd you
what?
I know we can hurt ourselves, and some idiot's probably going to, but it won't be me. It was fun. I loved it. We'd go out by the garbage when we had to go throw away our bad fruit, and we would just throw things in the air and slice it up. It was the best.
My brother also worked in a produce department at a supermarket during his college years, and I think we can attest a lot of the fruit and vegetables you enjoy at home were used for target practice, probably. So just be aware.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it
had like a watermelon on the knife too, or some kind of like fruit. It was like some weird. It came. I don't know how the hell we ended up with it back in our produce section. I just remember that fucker just sliced through things. Like, I mean, I want to say I cut a watermelon in the air too. I want to say
awesome.
We did a lot of dumb shit. So
of course you did, because you were young and
I wasn't that young.
In a supermarket.
I was 25. I was 26.
I'm not young enough. That's still fair.
And I hated my life at the time. It was right before I met Tiff. So I was like, fuck this. I'm just slicing up fruit. And I hate this job, making $10 an hour, and I'm not happy. So
yeah. And it was the Hattori Hanzo knife. So anyway.
I also really like the name Evie. I think that
is a good name.
Now I've seen 2 movies with the character named Evie, and both women are hot as hell. So
God. Have you done the Mummy? Have you done the movie yet? Have you done Mummy yet, Mike?
I have not.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a fucking good movie. That's a more uplifting movie than this movie, but yes, I don't know. But that's not here. But I like that. I think the stuff like when you kind of, they do a good job of a lot. They do a lot of world building in this movie. Like when he brings her up to the roof and she's like, I want to go home. He's like, why don't you come with me? And she's smart. She's like, should I tell the crazy man who just killed a couple officers that were going to rape me? No, or should I just go with the crazy man? Well, let's go with the crazy man. I think that's probably the safer objective at this point. Because he might try to kill you if you leave. Because you are a witness.
She is rather trusting right out the gate. Sure.
I mean, she's tough.
I'll come with you. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's also fear. Like she's just trying to, like, 'cause you kind of see it later in this movie where she's trying to appease him because she's waiting for her opportunity to get away. She's just smart. That's kind of how I look at it too. We'll talk about it. There's a scene I really do not like in this movie, but we'll get there. No, I think that I do like it when she's on the roof and he's like, what day is it? She's like, November the 4th. Not anymore. I love that. And that's where that famous line is first in this movie. Or not first, but one of the other times you hear the line that you hear constantly. Remember the 5th of November. I really like that line. I really like this movie. But, like, having the overture song play from Tarkovsky's 1802, I think it is.
Tchaikovsky?
Yeah. I like that song, too. I think I like the idea that you're this totalitarian government that they have sound system everywhere just so they can tell you what not to do. Like, I really do appreciate that because that's where government would go eventually. Like, if you're going to have that type of government in this day and age, you're going to have that. I'm sure North Korea is like that. I mean, we wouldn't know. I mean, we don't really know because only some people leave and tell us. But, like, I'm sure that if you have a type of this strict of a government, you have to have surveillance on everybody to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, that comes kind of part and parcel, especially when you're trying to control the narrative and control fear and things of that nature. It's definitely, I suspect it makes life a lot easier, it's much easier to do these days with all the connectivity and everything else.
That's one of the scary aspects of today's world, but yes, it wouldn't be that as difficult.
Well, and I think one of the things that this movie touches on, and we'll talk about, and maybe when we get to that point, we can talk about it a little bit more. But this is kind of what happens, and we talked about it a bit as well, when fascism takes over. It's also an example of what happens when people just give up. When people are willing to give into fear and say, you know what, government, you can do what you want. I'm perfectly fine watching my bad British TV shows and watching and hanging out at home. And I think that's, again, one of those quote unquote lessons. Now, again, I don't think we should be radicalizing and I don't think we should be marching upon Capitol Hills or anything. However, I think being involved in government and being more involved as opposed to being a spectator, being a participant as opposed to a spectator is kind of what I think this movie is warning against. Because the people voted for this, as they are voting for other things as we speak. If you're listening to this on November 5th November, think about who you're voting for, because it does matter.
Please think about who you're voting for and take your vote seriously, please. There's a joke I'm going to make later on, but the voting for who you believe in is then playing it off as a joke.
I think we learned our lesson in 2016.
I'm sure hope we did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hope we do too. And hey, depending on when you hear this, you know if we're right or not.
Right. We're either celebrating or sobbing. There's no in between.
Yes, I'll either be listening to The Return of the Jedi when the Death Star blows up, or I will be crying. One or the other. We'll see what happens.
I know it's a really weird comment because I have a couple friends who are a little bit younger than me, which is funny because I feel like I'm saying I'm an old man like this. But I have a lot of friends who are a little bit younger than me, and they're like, oh, we're thinking about voting like third party. And I'm like, look, if this was a regular election, I wouldn't care. Yep. With what we have on the line, please don't vote third party. The last thing I would want is for that man to win by like 1%.
Yeah, and again, not to get into it, obviously we can't avoid political conversation when it comes to this movie because this is what this movie is.
Why it is recorded and being released on November 5th.
Right. It's also, I am very much so against the idea of voting against somebody. I do believe you should vote for the candidate that best follows your and not care if they're not a popular choice. However, like you said, Joe, sometimes circumstances call for for that to not be the case. Sometimes you just got to suck it up and play the game. So, yeah. Anyway,
I think one thing that they do, like when you're first introduced to the Grand Chancellor, which I also find super amusing, because if you listen as the movie, when they talk about the flashback of how he became, when he took power, he created the position of the Grand Chancellor. Do you know who else created that position when he came into power, Ken?
Ooh.
Adolf Hitler did that too.
Ah,
he did.
yes.
Oh,
So I mean, it's a reference to that, and that's what it amused me so much because when he first takes power, before he completely takes over, he becomes the Grand Chancellor or the Chancellor. But he becomes a position that didn't exist when he takes power. Which again, this is a huge reference to like the idea of the men that he's talking to, where each one is in charge of a particular thing. One is in charge of the news. One is in charge of the secret police. You could reference that to Joseph Goebbels, Heinrich Himmler. It's Hermann Goebbels is the same thing. It's hugely referenced to the Nazi Party. And as a guy who knows a lot about those people in history, like you can tell that's exactly what he's going for. Like the thing with when you go to the news network and the guy makes a comment, he's like, it's our job to report the news, not fabricate it. That's the government's job. Like, little things like that, which I do love some of these lines so much.
There's also like a really funny thing that one thing I always like referencing because I did it in high school. I had a really cool history teacher, and he was basically like, "Hey, I'm gonna make y'all read pretty much what are they called the banned books, and y'all can pick your choice, and we'll all read it as a class, or whatever." So my class we got 1989 or 1889.
1984.
1984. Yeah. And I'm always glad for that because it's a signed show where like a lot of things do reference that movie, like Big Brother is watching and things like that. And I always love seeing that in media because it's like, okay, this didn't affect a lot of people, showing what fascism looks like.
Yeah, you think, too bad. Unfortunately, not enough people read that. Also, you want to say what state you went to high school in?
Texas.
Okay.
Of course. The Lone Star State.
Yeah.
I gotta we definitely do have a lot of Texas listeners, but I'm also pretty sure that most of them, if not 90% of them, are people that think like I do, otherwise you wouldn't listen to me talk. So
yes.
I am from Texas. I no longer live in Texas. My sister is from Texas. She also no longer lives in Texas. That show goes to show what's up with Texas.
I am not from Texas, but I live in Texas, but I don't count because I live in the Austin area, which is basically like Brooklyn South or Portland South. Let's be honest.
That also does not count.
It does not count.
Yeah, because I also live in Houston and have friends who live in Houston and Austin and San Antonio and Galveston. Don't go to one of those small towns. I'm pretty sure Texas still has like 5 sundowning towns. So.
Oh yeah.
Just stay away from those.
There are plenty of towns that you can drive in and out of and didn't even realize you had done so.
Yeah.
Population 2,000 people. It's like,
yeah, we got that up here too.
Mm-hmm. Every state has them. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I do want. I really like the television station. That the fact that they gave her. I'm happy she's not a 16-year-old prostitute. By the way, I'm really happy about that. I just want to say that. I'm glad they changed that. I like the fact that she works at the station because it also fits into how she gets included in this whole mess, and like I think all that's very good. I know it makes sense in the comics. Like I know it makes sense. Like I didn't read the comic, but I was watching some things before. I'm just saying that had it been a 16-year-old prostitute, I wouldn't have had Natalie Portman, so then I would have been sad.
The whole television station thing, I feel like is just added foo-for-all. It's not necessary. The whole point of the book was to show the fascist government as this horrible, awful thing that people should be fighting against, but they're just not. There's not a lot of uncomfortable people in this movie.
I made a very similar. Yeah, I made an extremely similar. Everything seems pretty good. It seems like, I don't want to say it's working, but everything seems pretty decent. And you're exactly right. It's not a post-apocalyptic. It doesn't. We're not seeing the effects of this. We're not seeing the effects of this government. We're hearing about the bad things they do, and it's not as effective as if you saw it. No,
you see a little bit, but not to the level that you would think you would see. Like, I mean, you get very little. Like with Daddy Dietrich, you see him get begged and then murdered eventually. Yes, but
exactly.
You really don't see much. I mean, you see the flashbacks of what happened to V, but you don't get a lot of it. You just get stuff that's told to you from other people.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Ken. I had a very similar thought about this when I was watching it. Like, everything seems to be pretty decent. But again, that's kind of what I think about the big theme here is that what are you willing to trade? Are you willing to trade that freedom? Are you going to be willing to trade the stuff you don't see for that convenience? So, I mean, but again, I totally agree with you, Ken. I think and I think the TV station's fun. I think there's a lot of fun things to be had there. was this movie made in England by mostly English people? Because the reason I say that, this seems like a movie that's made by Americans saying English words like bollocks and laser lasses banging. Like they went through a checklist of British terms and made sure they had at least 5 in each scene. It didn't ring true to me. It rang like an American writing British dialogue, which is interesting because the actual author, Alan Moore, is a British author. So just a curious question.
Well, it was shot there was some England shooting. There was some Germany shooting. At least it wasn't shot in America. I'm pretty sure the director, I think James McTeague is Australian, apparently.
Okay.
And the Wachowskis are Americans. They were born in Chicago.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring up that point that you had?
Oh, yeah, I suppose so. Like, I forgot.
Didn't the Wachowskis make the Matrix movies?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they did. But, like, seeing their dead names in this movie was shocking.
I was actually going to think about that, too. I was going to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like...
So... I meant to look for that. Did they not like change that for the streaming or anything like that? Is that a thing they can do?
They could do.
I guess, right?
They could.
They did not do.
Disney Plus has done it with things I want to say have been changed since they were. So you can change things. I mean, maybe I don't think it's the simplest thing, but it's not like it's impossible. It's just somebody went, I don't care. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was a little odd. Ultimately, that has nothing to do with the movie. It was just weird to see. You're absolutely right. Americans writing about British things.
Yeah, and it felt that way. It definitely felt that way.
And we're getting so close to something I want to talk about.
All right,
not quite there yet, though.
Okay, so I mean, the big thing here, of course, is are we at the TV station? Or I guess we're kind of there. So he blows up the Old Bailey. You know, obviously we have the moments where the government's trying to cover up what happened. This really ridiculous news story. We just decided to demolish this historic building because there's something. Words, rules, whatever.
If you watch that scene after knowing this movie, you notice she blinks a lot. You notice she blinks a bit in that scene.
It's a good one, yeah.
So another thing that we kind of skimmed over, it's not super, super big important, but it does want to really lead up towards the ending. A bunch of times whenever we see stuff happen, we are shown what a bunch of the people in town think. It covers a family with a daughter, another family with a son, a bunch of old people in the retirement home, people at a bar, stuff like that, and their reactions to what's going on. And it's kind of interesting because it kind of shows that there is a small flame slowly being ignited, at least at some point.
I love the assisted living home that they're at because they also, like, if you noticed in the room, there's also a picture of the chancellor in the room.
Yeah.
And that amused me because that also happened in our reality, unfortunately, not at nursing home, but at certain places had a picture of an asshole that had to be there apparently.
Shut the fuck up, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yep. When he was in office, he had pictures of himself at different places. I mean, it might be normal, but I'm just like,
that's so gross.
I don't want to see any of their faces. Like, yeah, it's a picture hung up in places. So
we're also getting a little bit to know a little bit the characters that I like to say that the series. Besides Natalie Portman's character, you have the 2 detectives. You also have Natalie Portman's boss, I guess, which is supposed to be kind of a Conan, John Letterman kind of guy that does late night TV shows.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Who?
I don't know. I'm not good with fucking TV. I watch anime. goddammit.
I'm sorry. John Letterman shocked me.
Oh, yeah, David Letterman.
David Letterman, John Busey. I don't fucking know names. Goddammit. Look, I spent my fucking weekends watching a bunch of Japanese dudes fight. Okay, goddamn.
Admit that. It's all good.
Oh.
Oh, that's good.
No, that's just...
You are right. Like, you have them, and then the other guy you have could be like a Tucker Carlson, for example,
Right.
He's a right-wing he's an idiot who's just spouting out nonsense, and people are buying it. So, hey.
Or a Rush Limbaugh, which is probably more era appropriate.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's probably more accurate. I just forgot because he's dead. So fuck him.
Yeah, he's dead. Woo!
If you're ever curious, I went and looked up stuff about that fucker once, and I'm like, oh, this guy was a piece of shit. Like, woo.
I think they finally kicked Tucker Carlson off of Fox News.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but he's got a podcast now. That's one of the top 10 podcasts in the country. So yeah.
Gross. I mean,
yeah.
So's Joe
Yay.
Rogan, but no one really gives a shit about that guy either. Joe Rogan.
People still like him.
Surprising amount of people do, considering he is literally the most popular podcast on the planet. So
It's disgusting.
it's not great.
A popular podcast on the planet. Come on, no people. But I'm also not a guy who rants and raves about the world ending, so that that I don't have that there.
Or sells
Okay.
titanium bracelets.
I don't sell
Alright.
anything. You can't even buy a shirt against my mom found because I don't have any.
I did want to check, and yes, Alex Jones was broadcasting during this time period as well.
Oh, was he?
Fuck me, I forgot about Alex Jones.
I can't forget about him.
It's
I'd
hard
love to.
Hard to. That's a challenge.
His
I haven't
birthday
thought-
is on February 11th.
God
It's my
damn.
fucking birthday twin.
Dang.
All right.
That's so lame.
I don't know who I share a birthday with.
I have a few
Hate
awesome birthday twins. Bruce Springsteen is a birthday twin.
Okay, that's
rules.
awesome. My birthday's today, but I don't know who I share it with. That's
I
neither
take
here
that
nor
back. He's not my birthday twin. Who? What
Oh,
Jersey singer is my birthday? Oh, sorry.
I have a really fucked up question
Please.
for y'all. So is the idea is he also accidentally like fucking framing her as well? Or
No.
is he doing it on purpose? So he knew she would deliver all those fucking costumes to the news station, right?
No, I don't. They just showed up. I don't think he thought who was going to do it. He just had it shipped there. I don't think he knows she worked there.
I don't think so. I don't think he had
Okay.
any idea. I think, and that's what makes this whole TV station thing, I think, run a little foul too, is that it's all designed to get them together. And so it's very circumstantial. The fact that she just happens to work at the TV station, and she just so happens to be on the same floor as he is, and just so happens to attack a police officer. It's very writery, and which I think maybe lending a little bit to, not to put words in your mouth, Ken, but maybe that's why this feels like part of one of the weaker points in the movie.
No, that's probably fair. I mean, I like it personally, but but I get where you're coming from. That it is very writery.
No, I mean 100% it is. Like it's extra food for all in the comic book. And I'm going to be saying this a lot, and I'm sorry.
That's
It's
fine.
fine.
I'm sorry, but the comic book is just so much more efficient.
Will
Evie has a shitty life, so
Yeah.
she goes with the person who saves hers. Look how easy that is.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
great.
she also. The only way that it doesn't really show her having that shitty of a life, other than the fact that she lives in a studio apartment, I think it's kind of the only way of going to show. But that's not shitty. And well, I guess it does show her parents are murdered, and she was an orphan at a young age. That's shitty. But so okay. But yeah, it's not as bad as what I know about the comic, which I do want to read the comic and cover that at some point now. So I really do like after he does his broadcast and when the cops go in there to arrest him. And like I really appreciate how that whole scene goes down. I think that's a very good scene where they just shoot a guy in a mask before they figure out that they're all the hostages. That seems very accurate. Well, it does. I mean, you're this type of government for one thing, and you're in a hostage situation, and they shoot first. I mean,
Can't believe Joker's goons put guns on those guys and then pretended to be the hostages. I've seen too many of those fucking movies.
Well, Dark Knight.
Yeah, I will call out when a movie ripped off another movie. This came out first, which means Dark Knight ripped off a lot of shit. So I'm not applauding you, Dark Knight. Eat my ass.
It did rip off a lot of shit.
So why does Evie mace the cop to save V? Like, that I don't understand.
Well, Natalie Portman's very good at reading the script, and she saw that's what the job was. So she said, yes, director, I'll do that. There really is no reason. That's exactly the point. There is no real great reason for her to do this.
That bothers me a little bit because I'm like, why would you just attack? I mean, I get it. He saved your life, but still, like, you're not going to be able to get away with it. Like, you have no chance of pulling this off and leaving.
Again, the idea is more like the idea is more of she knows something is wrong, and inside of her heart of hearts, she understands that something is wrong, and this guy's here to do something good. I think maybe I don't.
Even as I'm pretty liberal, but like I can tell you right now, if we lived in this type of government, these words would not be coming out of my mouth. If I knew they're going to come and throw a black bag over my face, I'd be a lot quieter. But then again, I'm not that. So
there's a thing which we'll get into. I understand how like the comic's different from the movie. Obviously, I understand where Ken's going with it as well. Because I honestly would love also to hear more about how that's different, and I can tell it sounds completely different. I do think it's interesting that the way they basically phrase the movie though is they did. I wouldn't say they made it more palatable, but I do at least admit there's a weird thing which I'm assuming the comic doesn't do it, Ken, where even though Evie knows a little bit that the government's a little fucked up, she still has her moments where it's like, well, maybe the government's not that bad. And so her having her go towards that evolution, I think, is pretty cool for the movie as well.
It's not as present in the comics. Like, Evie's parents in the comics are not political dissidents. They just die as part of the shittiness that's going on. And that's one of the things that you don't get from this movie is seeing what led to this, like we talked about earlier. And not having that, I think, is a weakness of this film.
I agree.
It was a lot of things that went wrong. It was a blight on crops. It was a virus. It was, bad weather. Like, it was essentially the biblical plagues. It was not a good time. And that led for people searching for an answer. And unfortunately, that answer was not so coincidentally waving SS flags. It was not a good time. And that led for people searching for an answer. And unfortunately, that answer was not so coincidentally waving SS flags. Because the group Northfire, well, the SS that Hitler used were, runes. So it's not surprising.
I do appreciate the fact that it's also red and black too.
Wait, did we?
I mean that's how it happens in history. I mean, I've been saying this now for some reason since 2016 that in order to have a government become completely totalitarian, to have any of this type of situation, you have to have an event that gets people to give up their power. I've been saying that forever because that's how Hitler took power. That's how a lot of other dictators throughout history take over, is by having some event that makes people scared enough to vote away their freedoms. And if you don't have that, you're not going to get, it's harder for a dictator to take over. You need those events to take place.
And remember, too, this is also a world where there isn't any real social media. There's the interlink, as they call it. It's very cute, interlink. But this is before social media. Social media has actually made it, I think, harder for that to happen, although there's much more misinformation out there because you have so many people supplying information. I wonder if it's just harder nowadays to have a government do that, because if you're at a place, you're going to have 85,000 cameras there because everyone's got their phones. They're going to take it out and do something. So it's an interesting, it would be harder to do that in this day and age because of the freedom of, there's more freedom of expression and more avenues for that and more, let's be honest, news outlets. Everyone's a news outlet now. Definitely that idea of Big Brother watching and Big Brother controlling the media and controlling the news and controlling the narrative is definitely the real threat. I'm just curious. I'm just wondering if these days, if it rings less true now, because right now, because if a modern, like a teenager watched this movie, they'd probably be like, yeah, but wasn't someone there with a cell phone recording it? I'm sure there's like a million things on TikTok. Government's not scrubbing all that. They can't. So I'm wondering if it's just a thing I was thinking about.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Perspective being a thing.
Because yes, there is more false information spread, but like with our current world, like you look at the way dictators have taken over, and one thing they always do is they cut down the amount of communication that people can have with the outside world. And we would not go quietly if you try to take away the internet. Right. Like people would not be okay. They'd be like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Like, we live in a world that just would not be allowed.
I would love to believe that.
Yeah.
I would.
Okay. I know it's possible, but it seems less likely that you would be able to cut off. Even North Korea, who's mostly cut off, things get out of there and people have stuff smuggled in. Like,
oh no, I would love to believe that people wouldn't sit by and let it happen.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair.
Like,
yeah, that's a different comment.
Well, yeah, and I think these days it would be whoever the invading government would have to provide an alternative, right? An alternate distraction. But yeah, you have a good point there, Ken.
Like their own social network, perhaps, that they call the truth?
Maybe.
So fun, interesting fact. So even equally funny. Speaking of censoring the internet, because I think I told Mike this. I don't know if I told the other two of y'all this. So I work for an internet tech support department for an internet company. The day, and we do it through multiple states. Some of the states are Kentucky, Arkansas, things like that. The day, I believe it was sometime in June or July, when they started banning porn, people started calling us and being upset over it.
Wow.
There was literally a guy who said, he's like, you need to turn you need whatever it's doing it, you need to turn it off right now. And we're like, sir, there's nothing we can do. I shit you not, this guy told one of my supervisors, no, you don't understand. My wife's in the front yard fixing to beat her meat in the open if I don't get, with a magazine, if we don't get the porn turned back on. Please turn the porn back on. And we're like, sir, there is nothing we can do. Like, please stop calling us. Like, you'd be surprised how incompetent people are.
See, it's boy, I've
forget that happened.
I've spent way too much time in circles in recovery, because all I said's in my head is addict. Oh, that's so sad. That just, oh God.
But also, wasn't it only Texas that did that?
It was like, so we do different states. I know we do Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, Florida. So it was one of the red states that passed it. Maybe Florida. I want to say it was.
I don't think
also,
Texas did. I don't think Texas was one of those.
I think Texas is one of them.
Was
Texas
it?
is definitely one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also the thing is, it's like, it's not that, well, they didn't ban it, but they did the age verification thing.
No, they banned it.
They banned it?
Yeah, they banned it. If you go to like a porn page, it just completely takes you off. Like it says, this website's not available.
Wow.
It was because the porn website said they don't want to put their fucking age verification bullshit on their websites. So it's like, then just ban us.
That's what VPNs are for.
Yeah.
But is that still a thing? Like they didn't revoke that yet?
They have not revoked that yet.
As far as
Another
I'm
reason.
aware, yeah, it's still there.
Why you vote? Because that's just stupid. Like, I mean, I can guarantee you that the whole like idea, we're protecting the kids are going to find porn. Trust me, I was a teenager. I found porn just fine. Like,
yeah.
I remember walking down an alley and some guy had a bunch of Playboys he was throwing away from the 70s. And I remember picking up that box and taking it home. I gave it to my dad.
Dude, you hit teenage jackpot.
I mean,
you really did.
I already had the internet. So
yeah,
I had dial-up internet, but I had the internet. But no, I mean, I remember just giving it to my dad. Like, I'm like, here you go. And I remember a guy being like, your dad? No, I'm like, I'm bringing it to him. He was excited when I told him I found this. He still has them, by the way. They're all like old 70s Playboys. He was like, this is cool. But that's like, it's like kids are like, they're going to find porn. Like, you're not protecting anybody. Like, it's a natural thing for teenagers to seek out that, like, fucking idiots.
But Mike, what are you talking about? Kids have to be protected at all costs. Didn't you hear? They go to school one day as one gender and they come back the next day as a different gender. And they but they still have to pay for their lunches though, Mike. You don't understand.
Yeah, like, I mean, you brought up something. So I anybody who believes any political ad, no, I'm 100% a liberal. Like but I don't believe liberal ads either. I mean, they're all, I don't believe any political ad. I just don't. Like, I mean, I'm going to do my own research, but someone I know, a family member, went, oh yeah, Kamala said that they're doing sex changes in prison. Like I'm like, so where'd you get this information from? Oh, political ad. I'm like, why are you trusting any political ad? Like every political ad takes the truth and spins it. Like that's both parties do. All parties do it. That's just politics. Like you can't believe the ads. It's propaganda. Party. But
I don't know if Bill, and don't say anything, Bill. It's fine. Bill, do you have a Texas number? When you moved, did you keep like your number from your state?
It's very interesting you said that. I kept my number from my state, but I do now mainly use my Texas number because it's just more convenient than the one I've had since I was 16. That's now ported to Google Voice. So I now use my Texas number, but for a very long time I did not.
Yeah, I get ads from Texas still. I say that because I got a political ad on my phone. And I'm like, please stop texting me. I don't even live in Texas. And it's really weird because I got one where it's like, did you know the person running against Abbott wants men to compete against your daughters in sports? That's why you should vote for Abbott. And I'm like, don't fucking send me these. Please fuck off. I don't want to hear your liar bullshit. It's funny that the movie mentions that too as well, but we'll get into that.
I mean, I throw away every single political ad they hand me. Like they're like, vote for the Democrat. I'm like, I will vote for the Democrat. I don't need the ad. Like, just Wait,
I don't get a lot of those. My wife is constantly being bombarded with political ads on her phone. She's sitting next to me, which this is totally, we're so off topic. We're actually off topic.
We're on topic.
No, I'm very proud of you, Mike Albertin, for becoming like a real movie buff. Like your evolution over the last 5 years, like really,
It really
it's
has.
been
Like
awesome.
this movie, as much as I've seen it multiple times and I love this movie, but like watching it now, I appreciate what it's trying to say so much more. Like we'll get back to what you're saying, but I have to say this before I forget because I have the movie playing in the background. When Natalie Portman, when they go and watch the movie together, she's like, does it have a happy ending? And then the way she says, put away the sword. Like it screams what every single woman would say to some random idiot playing with a sword. Put away the sword.
Yeah, totally. Put away the sword.
Yes, what were you gonna say?
You giant child. But I was just saying, my wife is sitting next to me, and I'm doing this recording on her laptop because she's on my computer playing Fallout New Vegas, and I am now turning her into a gamer. So I'm just changing people's hearts and minds. It is pretty great. She on her own volition. We're not streaming, nothing. She's just in Vault 3 in New Vegas, raiding a fiend hideout and blowing off heads and having a ball. I'm like, yay. See? Slowly but surely changing hearts and minds.
I need to get to play more games.
It's all no, you don't. Bill, it's all fun and nice and cute and whatever. Your wife plays video games, but then before you know it, the new God of War comes out, and you tell your wife, "Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and go to work now. You can go ahead and play God of War while I'm gone." And you come back, and she's further than you, and she has hidden weapons that you didn't find because you missed it. And it's like, "Goddamn, why are you ahead?" It's like none of your goddamn business. That she's telling you what to do, even though you told her.
Oh, that's funny. That's actually funny. That's probably gonna be 5 years down the road. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I can't.
That's really good.
I can't handle when Tiff plays games. I can't watch her. I'm like, oh nope, I can't do this.
Me and my husband are avid gamers, and sometimes we'll play the same games. But there's a funny South Park joke where he's playing Red Dead 2, and his wife stays over his save. Then he comes home, and she sees he's further than her, and she's like, "That's right. I saved the town, and I have all this, and I have the advanced horse. And what do you have? Nothing but a silly gambler's hat and 2 hours of gameplay." And it reminds me of me and my husband because we argue about stuff like that a lot.
That's funny. But anyway, let's steer the ship back. Let's steer the ship back because I think Ken is chomping at the bit to talk about something that we haven't gotten to yet.
Well, there is when she does mace the cop. That's when V takes her back to his hideout, which I do like because he has all these banned material, which I think is also very cool. Kind of give you more flavor to the world of all the different things that they aren't allowed to have. Like all these paintings are all banned, and I do like that. And this is also when you start to get, and this at the same time you have the investigator looking into the old base because he starts putting two and together some of the people that were murdered. Because at this point, the one guy from TV was murdered, the fucking Rush Limbaugh fake version of him. I do like when you guys in the shower and he's just mimicking himself and he's just such a piece of shit. Like I do like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Ken, anything you want to add?
I mean, not really. Nothing to add about this point. Like you guys were just having such a good time talking about stuff. I was just sitting back listening.
Oh, the part when it shows Natalie Portman's character when she was a kid and the parents were taken, that's hard. That's a hard part. But the part that bothers me in this movie is when he goes to go kill the bishop. I think it's, especially now, like, I mean, I'm sure stuff already happened in 2006, but like the way that it goes with the bishop where he's a fucking pedophile, like it bothers me seeing Natalie Portman dressed up like that though for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but it really, like, I've seen this movie before, but this time watching it bothered me what's happening on the screen. I'm just like,
because you know too much.
You know what's going to happen. Yeah, well, you know
too real.
Yeah, it's A, too real, and B, it's going to, she's going to, purpose of that is for her to be victimized, and it's not supposed to be funny. Yeah, it's okay for you to be like creeped out by that. That is an okay emotion. I think that's actually perfectly fine.
Oh yeah.
It bothered me, and I was like, this hasn't really bothered me before. I've seen this movie. Like I know, like nothing's gonna, but. And the fact that, like, I do like how she's like, I'm a hostage. Like, she's not okay with what V's doing, which is fair enough. V's is a shithead, too, especially we're going to talk about later. But, like, the fact that, she starts telling the bishop, she's like, hey, someone's trying to kill you. We need to do something. And he's like, oh, I like this game. and then he tries to rape her, and I'm like, and then he does get killed. I'm like, fuck you, like you deserve it, you piece of shit.
So the three things I'll talk about. I'm a tangent back to Cam, which I think is gonna be hilarious because I could feel him when say it. One, when we go over Natalie Portman's backstory, her kid's backstory, I do think it's interesting you get those tidbits because there is kind of mentions of what happened because she mentions how her brother died in something called the St. Mary's something, and they don't really mention it very well. But they go over how her parents became activists and things like that. But I also think it's funny that proves this movie has aged rightfully well, just because you have the whole point where, like, in 2006, you would be like, oh my God, it's a Catholic priest that goes after children. What a horrible thing to think about. But in 2024, it's like, yeah, that no one is colored surprise anymore. Like, no wonder. Like, you could even see the signs back then that it happened. Ken, is this where the comic makes more sense because she actually is physically 16?
It does make a lot more sense. And something that's brought up in the comic is that she's substantially older than the usual people that the priest is getting.
Yeah, because they do mention that in this one too, where they're like, he's a little older, and he's like not too old, I hope.
Yeah,
his weird doting person. I don't know what to call him.
It was definitely more of a thing in the comic book to have her be, the 16-year-old prostitute and older.
I'm assuming it makes more sense in the comic because it's in this, it's like, oh, she's older than you used to. Oh, so she's like 24 and you see her and she's just like a kid. But in the comic, oh, she's older than you're used to. Oh, she's 16. So it's like, dude,
it's worse.
How young are you going for there, bud?
I mean,
there's
a documentary on Max. I'm going to leave this very quickly or very short about Jared Vogel. It's very disturbing to watch, but it's interesting.
About who? I don't even think I know this.
Subway guy.
Oh, I don't even know the story. Okay.
He's a piece of shit.
But
don't think I want to know.
No, I would not recommend it for you, but it's interesting, but it's a little tough.
There's a game that I will not say the name of because if you know what game I'm talking about, anyone just shoot me a wink in the Discord. But there's a game where you play where you play as a high school girl, and you meet one of the guys who very much ends up being a villain towards the end, and she very much goes, "Oh my God, are you hitting on me?" He's like, "No, I'm not hitting on you. If anything, I like him younger." And they never go back to that. But I'm like, isn't your age in the game as a high school girl like 14? It's like, oh, this guy's definitely supposed to be the bad guy.
Is it Japanese?
It's Japanese.
Okay, different thing. Too. But it's just, I don't know what it just bothered me, and I did not like any of it in this watching. So I was like, this is not comfortable. So I just also the fact that I'm attracted to Natalie Portman. I don't like seeing her portrayed as a kid, and I just don't like any of this. I'm like, nope, I'm not okay with this.
Also, we've been the one thing that also I feel like is a really dumb shit ass way. And Ken, I want to know how it translates in the comic. Her being like, "Oh my God, I've been kidnapped, and can you please help me?" and all that stuff. It's like, girl, you've been hanging out with V for like the past week. Don't tell me you haven't noticed your government's pretty fucked up. But that's why I said I feel like the movie does it a little better, where it's like, how are you still drinking the Kool-Aid after this?
I mean, I have my own opinion, but let's hear Ken's first.
Well, like in the comic, and I'm looking at it right now, like she willingly goes along with it in the comic. Like she is actively helping, and like she's kind of helping here, but she doesn't tell the priest that he's going to die. She plays along until it's time for V to come in. Like, I feel like the movie had to put that in there. Otherwise, Evie would not be a hero. Evie would be somebody who's doing these horrible things as well.
Yeah, they needed to have her not be ready to go to the levels of villainy. To be honest, because murder is villainy, right? And all these people do deserve the things they get, right? But I don't think she's ready. She's not ready yet for that level of villainy. She's still too much of the world and in the world, if that makes sense. So I think the idea of this is that showing us the audience, hey, she's not quite ready to become a paramilitary vigilante. She's not there yet, and which is fine because we're only about 50 minutes into the movie, and this is over 2 hours. So they're not. She's not ready for that yet. So Of course, the way she gets ready for that is horrifying and terrible and really, really off-putting. But we will get there when we get there. I agree, Ken. I think, again, now knowing the context of the actual original source material, it probably makes a lot more sense. You wouldn't have to have this beat of her, please give me some sort of freedoms or protections. Like, come on, help me, please. Which is a pretty normal human thing, right? You can't go. It's only been a few weeks. She's been hanging out with V. So
right, and in the comic, it is not about she's hanging out because of necessity because she's been accused of something. She has nothing better to do in the comic, which is it's really funny. Now in the comic, she does get pissed off that V kills the bishop.
Oh,
and she does end up leaving him.
Huh.
Okay. I like when she leaves and then she ends up at Dietrich's house, which was one of the producers at the network she worked at.
Not a character in the comic book.
He's not from the comic book?
Nope. He does not exist in the comic. He's a movie creation only.
He works for this. Also having her run away from V, I think also fits more of what you guys said, where you're trying to make her a hero and not be and to have you emphasize, or is the word emphasize I want here, more sympathize. I know I want a word, but where you, I just catch that there's a Nazi symbol in this movie. I did not catch that before.
There's a lot of them.
Sympathize?
Yeah. In Dietrich's house, when he's showing her his collection of stuff, band stuff, he has a American flag with a Nazi symbol in the center of it.
Who wants to tell Mike?
What?
That is not the Nazi symbol.
Well, what is it then?
Remember, the Nazi symbol is in the shape of a diamond that is shaped in a square, like how the Buddhist priest use.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you will always forever be tied into Nazi.
Yes, it will, and that's why I can't watch Bleach the same way every time I watch it. But that's not the point.
Oh, is it in Bleach too? The symbol?
Yeah, in Bleach, it's the hilt of his katana. It's very much that square symbol. That's the point. It's supposed to be I believe it's the term for balance, which of course, the Nazis can't not ruin shit ever. So, now we can't have that. It's funny enough, if you watch a lot of older Chinese movies, you'll see it like on the back of like the main character's like karate gi to show he's now powered up in the main character. But same thing as everything else. Like there's a lot of Norse mythology tattoos you can't have anymore because a lot of them go towards white nationalists.
Yeah.
Proof once again, Nazis fucking ruin everything.
Nazis fucking ruin everything.
Everything.
I do like that he has a Quran too, which is why one of the reasons he's why you find out he was murdered for having the Quran. More racism at its finest.
The worst.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm not gonna lie, I had to pause the movie and check just to double sure. I legit thought they were gonna reveal that he was V, because like they kind of talk the same. I mean, yeah, he's fatter, but he could be wearing a fat suit and like the whole egg thing. But I think the idea you're supposed to gather from that is that there's still people who, as much as V's supposed to be the bad guy for the government, it kind of proves there are other people who don't like the government and have their own belief system and things like that, to where he's not the only one that does things like that.
I mean, that's
just the one who decided to do something.
Yeah. Doesn't work out very well for him, but yes.
Well, V is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be another dictatorship that isn't talked about as much, but I watched a lot of documentaries, is Iraq. And if you ever look at the things like Saddam did, like one of the things that people would do at that time is they had interviews with somebody, and like her parents were against him, and what they would only talk outside with the radio turned up next to them, and they would whisper to each other. That's the only way they would talk about stuff, because they're like, we never know who's listening. Saddam was a terrible dictator. It's just not something that's talked about as much. Just talk about the weapons of mass destruction that they're still looking for. But yeah, that's another good one. I mean, I remember years later, I'm like, yeah, there weren't any. We lied. We just wanted to invade. That's all it was. He threatened my daddy. Pretty much what it was.
God damn.
It's not. It's pretty damn close. And it's more of we needed a villain because people blew up our tower, and so Saddam did need to go. I'm not going to say he didn't need to go, but you invaded under false pretenses.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Unfortunately, you're not wrong.
So there's a scene that we have a little bit later on, because eventually she's staying at the that guy's house, but V kills one of the doctors. Yeah, and I think it's probably my favorite part. One of my favorite parts of this movie is where the detective takes the book to the high chancellor, whatever the fuck his name is, and he's like, you can't prove it's real. Don't tell anyone about it. Don't mention it. Don't ever bring it up. You can't prove it's real. You can't prove it's not a fraud. You can't prove that the terrorists didn't leave it there. So as far as you're concerned, this fucking book's not real. And if you tell anyone, I will rip you in half.
Yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, with any dictator type stuff, I mean, this is something that alters their line of fiction, and they can't have anything alter their line of fiction. There's also a really good series on Netflix narrated by Peter Dinklage called How to Be a Tyrant or How to Be a Dictator. Really fucking good. Check it out. It's just a short little thing, but it talks about a lot of how people become dictators and what you have to do to take power and what people have done throughout history. Very, very good. I like when he kills the doctor. I think also like the whole way that she's like, are you going to kill me? He's like, I did 5 minutes ago.
10.
Or 10. I think that is, and the fact that he lets her die through poison versus being cut up, like he lets her pretty much die in her sleep essentially, because in this case, I'm assuming like she just falls asleep and then never wakes up again.
Little sexist.
Fair?
A little bit, I guess.
Yeah. Like, because she's a woman, you can't, murder her like you have everyone else.
I wonder if it's more along the lines of she wasn't full on, although she was responsible for the bad things that happened. She was trying to do it for the best of intentions, and I think he understands that she's tried to make up for it, where everybody else is still full on crapulence. So,
yeah. Well, she's been haunted by it, and I'm sure that he knows that.
Yeah.
So maybe, yes, some penance. I just said that to be funny.
Oh, sorry.
But
that's what I get for walking back into a conversation. Sorry. About
no. But like, it's interesting, and yeah, she is directly responsible for him.
Yeah, she's the one testing on him.
Yeah.
Like, she's in charge of the place when it comes to the medical part of it.
She's ones whose experiments they were.
Yeah, I mean, she's also under the belief that what they're doing is going to help their country. I mean, it's bullshit, but I get it. Like, I get how someone can have that mindset.
Blinded, it's the classic BioShock, science without morality, right? You're so focused on the actual thing you're trying to achieve, you forget about the people that you're harming in pursuit of that, right?
Or it could be you're so preoccupied if you could do it, you didn't ask if you should.
Ah, that's true too. It's very, very Ayn Rand, kind of
Calm down, Goldblum.
Yes, I was hoping to catch what I was referencing.
Well done.
I also love that movie too.
Very Jurassic Park of you.
Yeah.
But like, it's, I don't know. Whatever the reason, it happened.
The idea of the government creating a virus and injecting people with the virus and then blaming it on some other terrorist group, like, that hits a little too close to home after everything we went through in 2020. No, I don't think COVID was created. Like, I think it was just, I don't know what the fuck happened, but I don't think it was created in a lab or anything like that bullshit. I mean, as far as I'm aware, that's all bullshit. But like, the idea that a government that isn't, because like, if you throughout this movie, the whole idea is that because of that happening, they're able to take power. That's what gives them power, is by the people doing that.
Yeah.
And that's not unrealistic. I mean, if you look at throughout history, I've been waiting to bring this part up, the way that all these dictators come to power is through some fear of the people because of a climatic event. Nazis take over because of the Great Depression, huge inflation. They were saying the world is going to end, and now they seem like prophets. So people voted them in. The Reichstag is burned down by a communist, in quotations. I'm pretty sure it was a Nazi. And that leads to them taking power. Like, you have to have some event happen in order for people to get into power. That is just how it has happened throughout history. And thankfully, we have not had that in our country.
What are you talking about? Of course we have. We celebrate it. Oh, sorry. We remember it every September. What do you think the
Thanksgiving?
Patriot Act is?
You talking about Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's November. Oh,
The Patriot
9/11.
Act was a direct response to
Yes.
9/11, and
You are
that
right.
stripped away so much individual and personal
I
freedom.
forget that it did.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
It did. Like that. Thank you. You proved my point that this could happen easily, so easily that it already has.
Yes. And
Like,
people then
That
forget about it.
is that's how this stuff happens. Because with new fresh atrocities every day, we forget the things that are still very much in act
Obviously.
that are still affecting us to this very day due to one inciting incident.
Yes. Okay. But like what I was thinking more of is for someone to take power, such as somebody that likes Big Macs a lot, is what I was going with it.
Thank you, Mike. I would love power. I would love power. I think I would make a great dictator.
But that's what I was telling my father before. I'm like, because I know that's sometimes people's worries. Like, I'm like, yeah, but he's also too fucking stupid. Like, you need to be a certain kind of intelligent. You need to be a good speaker. If you look at throughout history, like of how people completely have been able to do that. Like, I'm like, you can't be that dumb. So,
and
you
yet,
can't.
It's a legitimate concern that he's going to get a presidency twice.
No, I know. Trust me. I know.
Like,
as I made the joke on Facebook, I said maybe he can just go find Hannibal Lecter and have dinner with him, or be dinner for him. You know, the fictional character that he went and had dinner with at some point. He thinks. Okay. But
like, great.
Can our God, after this fucking election, can our politics please stop being a goddamn clown show? This holy
hope so.
shit.
Oh God, do I hope so?
No, I'm sorry. This is an official, Ken prediction. It's only going to get worse.
It's only going to get worse.
Every year.
I think
only going to get worse.
I honestly think that once we get through this, things will get better. But I'm an optimistic person. So I have to be. It's just who I am. And I keep it that way.
So anyways, Johnny Carson pretended to put the goddamn fucking president on TV.
Yeah. This was an interesting choice.
Oh, anytime Yakety Sax comes up makes me thrilled.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how British is this show? And how British is this whole scene? This is very much so felt like an American's interpretation of like what British television is. I know nothing about British late night TV, but this is kind of, as a dumb American, that's what I'm assuming it is. It's all just Benny Hill music and silly slapstick. And I know I'm wrong, and I don't know any better. So it was very funny to have this again, the Benny Hill music. Is that what it's actually called?
That is a good scene.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And where he's like, oh, what are they going to do? They're going to find me. I mean, I'm one of the most, like profitable shows and this and that. And when they show up to his house to murder him.
Yeah. And which also seemed, I'm curious how the comic book treated this. And I am asking this genuinely because I think it's fascinating that this is such a departure from the comic. So, which is why I keep asking this. It seemed like an odd choice for somebody with as much risk as he's taking in this society with his sexuality and with all the things he stole. It's very surprising he wouldn't be a little more in tune or wouldn't feel as bulletproof as he does, because that's a pretty brazen thing. And now the Portman, of course, is rightfully like, whoa, wait, why did you do that? They're going to come after you. And
I love that.
His glibness about that seems a little out of character.
The way that I take it personally is that because of what V did, he's feeling more empowered.
That's fair.
To stand up and do something because he doesn't think that they can afford to just murder him. Because the idea is that, like, I mean, you look at like Nazi Germany again. There were a lot of people who were not aware of what was actually happening around them because some people just weren't affected by it. So they weren't as like, they didn't know about the camps till later. Certain people did.
Right.
But there's a lot of stuff that they weren't as aware of.
I may also say we haven't really talked much about the cast of this. John Hurt as the Chancellor is fantastic. I think the actors, and my favorite actor in this entire movie, and maybe this is just me being too cool from the room, is Stephen Ray. Stephen Ray as the detective.
Oh,
I love his performance in this movie. He is exceptionally good. He's so grounded and interesting. This detective who's been a party member for 27 years or 30 years, whatever it was, over the course of investigating V for a year, comes to realize, yes, there is something wrong. His journey through this is probably my favorite parts of this. I wonder if there is an equivalent character in the comics. It should have stopped the second I started talking. It should have been like, would you please be quiet, you babbling idiot.
Okay, I think Joel's right. We'll just go with that. We'll figure it out.
It's all good.
It's going to be fun.
Look, man, be a fun edit. Government trying to stop us from talking.
It
That's
could
right,
be. That's
man.
terrifying if you think about it.
It's not.
No, it's Skype. Skype.
Did Skype have an update where you can only record for like an hour at a stretch or something?
No, I can guarantee you that's not the case. This has not happened before like this. So unless Skype updated, but also neither one was an hour. So the first one was an hour, yes. The second one was not. I don't know. I got nothing, but yeah. If all of a sudden your podcast disappears on November 6th, it's not a coincidence, guys. It's not a coincidence.
It's the black bagged your podcast.
Oh God.
We can only find your recordings in
the dark web.
Written on toilet paper.
Yeah.
Because this will be released on November 5th, and I guarantee you guys, there's a podcast coming out on November 7th. So if that doesn't happen, and there's nothing after that, they're all recorded already. So
yes, remember me fondly.
Because I have a lot of podcasts in the can. But like when they capture Dietrich, and then when she escapes, because she jumps out the window, and then she gets grabbed by the government, she thinks. This is a like the first time I watched this and the time that I'm watching it anytime after where I know the twist, it bothers me in a way that it's meant to.
Yeah.
This
is we've talked a lot about this, and I'm at the risk of repeating myself, 2 hours in to this conversation. This is the biggest thing where I think people may read into this the wrong way. Because V is not supposed to be good in this. So we can kind of breeze through this whole thing. But this is really... So it's meant to seem like Natalie Portman's been captured by the Black Bag. It's made to look like she is in a detention center. They want her to reveal where V is. And she goes through a whole litany of torture and head shaving and...
All that... The head shaving's real, by the way.
Yeah, I believe it. And all this sort of demeaning things. And she discovers this note that's hidden in a mouse hole. And this note, it was written by a former occupant of that cell who had a same-sex relationship and was black bagged because of it and was part of the group of people, or one of the many, many people who were killed at that facility. God. The same facility that V was located at. This is all extremely touching and sad. This is all this is hard. This is hard. It's extremely hard. The scene where the writer of the note is sitting on the couch just waiting to be taken is so chilling. It's probably one of my favorite shots of this movie because it's just extraordinarily effective and chilling. She has this little jump as they come in, and she just sits there. Is very, very this whole thing is really tough, and it's made to make you feel like she is a prisoner as well. And yep, go ahead.
I need to backtrack just a little bit.
Oh yeah, go for it, man.
That scene, that shot with the scene with her on the couch is jarring. But that, honestly, I felt it as being a man of homosexual, but thankfully having very, very comfortable parents but also knowing there are people who have that conversation of like telling your parents that you're gay, and all of a sudden it's like, oh well, you're dead to us now, and it's like,
I can't imagine.
Like it's so jarring, and I can't, because I know people who had stories like that. I say that because my partner's dad has very much threatened to basically murder me because his son is gay.
Oh my gosh!
But then again, a year later, karma's funny. So yeah, very much I had his daughter threaten him to be nice to me. So it's like, you know what? I think everything worked out at the end.
I mean, people are just shitty. But this is, to talk about the hair thing, like I didn't know this. Tiff told me that, yes, those are real tears. She's like, I love my hair, but she had her hair cut for the movie. So they are really cutting her hair in that scene.
Yeah. Yep.
And she's really upset about it. Like, I don't blame her, but it's like, again, great actress. So, that's doing your craft. I get that. So hopefully I'm not, I'm assuming I'll be fine. But the fact that Skype keeps messing up and we made that joke, like, hey, if podcasts don't come out, what happened?
It's so fucked up.
It's funny. It's hopefully very funny.
I can't imagine that. And so the whole thing is really sad. So to the very end, where Natalie Portman is now basically institutionalized. She's basically now she doesn't care what happens. She's not going to give up V. She's willing to die for her ideals. And then she comes out to realize she's been gaslit for the last who knows how long time. No meaning.
It's my guess is a few months she's been there, and he's like, every day I tortured you. I didn't want to.
It is loathsome. And this is the part of the movie where people, I think, look at this and go, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, how else were you going to become a vigilante? She offered to help like months ago. And you could have started her off small with, I don't know, not murder. And I don't know, but you could have done. It is a deplorable act that V does. And there is no good reason for it. And yes, it turns her into this hardened vigilante. And at the end, sure, she thanks him for it, kind of. But it doesn't excuse the act. It's terrible. It's a horrifying act. And for some reason, again, maybe this is 2007 Bill. It didn't hit me as hard when I watched it, while eating Cheez-Its in a hotel room in Ann Arbor, Michigan, someplace.
It's a combination of
today,
things.
Because when I watched it last night, I was like, oh my God, this really royally sucks. I mean, I always knew it sucked, but this
But there's
royally
also a key part of this. You are now a father of a daughter where you were not back then.
True. That you're 1,000%. That perspective is definitely
I'm a father of a son. I mean, you are too, but I think it hits differently when it's hitting closer to home. And when you would have watched this back then, I'm assuming it was also before 2016, where our politics as a country really took a turn into a weird place past 2016. I mean, I make a joke all the time where I have an uncle who's a big time Republican, but he won't vote for Trump because he doesn't like Trump, but he also won't vote for Harris because he's a diehard Republican. I'm like, well, yeah, he can't vote for Trump because he's not a Trumpican. He's a Republican. There's a completely difference. They're different people. I have made that comment before because I'm like, if you look at Republicans, you look at conservatism, they always kind of follow a certain thing. You look at Trump and it's just it doesn't follow the same idea. Some are aligned, but other things are just batshit insane, like having dinner with Hannibal Lecter. It just doesn't make sense. So I get it. And I think that's also, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm really worried about the next Republican candidate because if he's even 10% smarter than Trump, we are actually if they continue
screwed
down that road. If they lose again, there's a good chance that they will finally start to just go back to what they were previously with Reagan and Bush. I mean, bad people. They were Reagan and Bush are not good people, but a different form ofness than what we currently have in politics.
So I think this part of the movie's fine, and I think it goes into everything that we've learned up to this point, and I'll go ahead and go through my reasoning. I think it's fine that he did this because you have the fact that that's what I said earlier. You very much understand that he's not a good person. He purposely uses her ID and basically frames her for doing the murders without even thinking about it, not worrying about the consequences. But I feel like even then, after everything that he's been through with her, he's told her things like that. Him showing her the everything that's happened to him. When she meets the priest, she still warns him that the terrorist is coming, and it's like, girl, really? So I feel like the whole thing of he could have had her read that note, but I feel like having her basically experience the same thing that happened to the woman that happened in the note is very much what she needed to be like, girl, your government's fucked up. You need to understand, this is something that actually happened, and you went through it basically being a simulation, but it's still something that very much happens to people. And I think that's another part of it too, is a lot of people don't think about stuff like this because it's like, well, it could never happen to me. I could never have ICE come on at my front door, knock the door down and separate me from my family, and I'll have to sleep in a dog kennel, not knowing if my kids survive the night. But having her, Natalie Portman's character, go through this very much solidifies your government's entirely fucked, and you need to have a reason as to why you cannot trust them, fucking period. And her having the big awakening in the rain as opposite to his fire, I do feel is also a pretty cool scene as well. But
it's very Blade Runner.
Good point.
Strong Blade Runner vibes. And you are talking about something.
But it wasn't the government. It was her friend, in quotations. But I guess he's not really her friend ever. But that's part of it. I get it. She needed, the whole idea. She makes comments. She's like, well, I needed to have this, to get rid of all fear. to survive, but really what he's doing is he's doing Stockholm syndrome to get her to follow his ideal.
And he's even, and I think I see where you're coming from Joe, because I do, there is something to be said for that. But again, I think that's where the departures from the comics come in, because in the comics, she already, and from what I understand, and Ken, stop me if I'm wrong, she already understands this. She doesn't need to go through the simulation to understand things are jacked up and things are messed up. So I think for the movie's sake, they were trying to make it so at the end you need this strong kind of vigilante character. And what, I guess, better way to do that narratively is to, when you don't have 3 hours, is to do it through this kind of idea of this forced indoctrination. But it's still, you still committed the evil act. Like, even though it was for possibly a noble cause to remove her fear and to make her see, it's still an inherently evil thing. But I understand what you're saying, Joe. I think that's a valid perspective.
And like, I don't want you to think this doesn't happen in the book. This happens in the book.
Or does it? Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Like, this absolutely happens in the book.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
And
I think
it's pretty much almost exactly the same way it happens in the movie.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
It hit so hard this time when I was watching it, and I just, like, and then I was watching it a second time with Tiff, and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm not talking to you. Just watch the movie. I cannot speak during this movie. Like, I'm not spoiling things. And I think she actually caught on to it that it wasn't real sooner than, like, I think the movie, the movie tells you. I think she did catch on.
Yeah.
One thing that I was paying attention to during my two watching is the silhouettes look like Creedy and the other guys. And in the very last part, when he opens the door and she says, take me out to the chemical shed and shoot me, the voice is different. The voice is V's voice. The actor, I can't think of his name. We have not talked about yet.
Hugo Weaving.
It's his voice, where earlier it might be his voice, but it doesn't sound like him. But in that last part, the voice sounds just like he does playing V. Like, you can hear it. And I was like, it's another way the movie's kind of like, giving you more hints about what's really happening. But
so that's Hugo. Real quick, I just want to ask, anyways, Ken, because you probably know more than any of us do. Is that Hugo Weaving's voice? Is that Hugo Weaving in the suit, or is it just some dude in the suit?
I've been waiting for us to talk about this.
Well, you take it, Ken.
There's a good chunk of this movie that isn't Hugo Weaving at all.
Obviously, yeah.
James
Not what you think.
was originally playing V and left the production about 4 weeks in after they'd already shot a bunch of stuff. So Hugo Weaving was a last-minute replacement. And there are still scenes with James Purefoy in the costume in the movie, and also Hugo Weaving.
Huh.
Is he credited at all?
No.
Oh, that's not great.
Goddamn.
Dang it. Why did he leave the production?
There are stories. There's always stories, but
Yeah.
the main one that's bandied about is creative differences.
Ah, yes. The good old catch-all for things going awry. Creative differences.
I'm a firm believer that it might have been. Like, obviously, I don't know James Purefoy. I wish I did. He's a great actor. Love him. He may have been a fan of the graphic novel. And when he saw what happened to this movie, he might have been like, you know what? This is dumb. I'm out.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if that was the case. I'd like to think so, though. But yeah, no. So the director knows which one's Hugo Weaving and which one's James Purefoy. As far as I know, has never actually said where the line is. So it's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Kind of crappy, also.
I mean, yes, it's both, but it's cool that the director knows. I mean, I don't know why they didn't credit him. Like, if it's in the movie and you filmed it, and I mean, one thing, you filmed it and then didn't keep it, but you filmed it and kept it.
That's not great. Yeah. That's because
if you didn't want credit,
perhaps. Yeah, I don't know how that works in Actorville. If you don't want credit, I know the writer Alan Moore of this is very. I guess he's famous for not wanting credit for things that have been turned into his work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's because he's mad at DC.
Like, all the money he could have gotten from this, he gave to the illustrator.
That's awesome.
Which is completely fair. He did the same thing with Watchmen.
Good for him.
So, like, he wanted nothing to do with this. And, yeah.
I know he was mad they created it, too. So
I did want to just go back to what Bill said, that there is no real good reason for doing this. Again, reminding you there's a great reason for doing this to your friend. He's fucking crazy.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Yes, you're
Like
right.
that is one thing this movie doesn't explain well enough, is that V is absolutely bug shit nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
Like
You're right.
after what happens to him in Larkhill, he is not healthy.
No, I mean,
mentally.
this is not a healthy man. Like, it's one thing if he captured her, put her in a fake cell, and doesn't shave her head, doesn't torture her for months, and just says, this is what would have happened to you. Or like, even then, that's still shitty, but like, the fact that he tortures her, like, you see him dunking her in the water, you see her chained up at one point and being hit with a shower, and like, she's screaming. Like, if you look at her hands are tied up.
Yep.
Like, none of this is all just torture, which would be against the codes of war in today's world. Like, or one of those codes somewhere. Like, what he's doing to her is awful. Sure, she sees the lie, blah blah blah, bullshit like that. But no, this is not. None of this is good.
I mean, she does.
Yes, but I mean, you don't need to torture a person. I think maybe seeing her friend captured and murdered, like, would have been enough. Like, yeah, they killed Daddy Dietrich. He's dead now. So maybe your government's not too good.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to torture her just to get the point. I mean, I do like the fact that she's like, fuck you, I'm leaving after this. And I do like when she sees the shrine to Veronica. I also appreciate that it's another V.
Mm-hmm.
I really did appreciate that when she's like, wait, she's real? He's like, yes, I found this letter. Because she's like, I was going to keep it, but you wrote it, so here you go. I thought that's all good. And then she leaves, which makes sense. She should leave. And I think it's like, this is when, I'm looking at my note. Oh, yeah, this is when it starts showing, like, when they up the propaganda and you see on the TV news, they're constantly showing all the terrible things that are happening. But you also see the citizens are like, here's that bullshit again. Like, they're not buying what they're trying to sell. Like, they're not listening to the fear and the propaganda.
V also bullies Creedy into getting him to do something.
Well, he bullies him, but also at the same time, he tells him the facts. He's like, because the Chancellor is playing into it, because the Chancellor's like, someone has to be the fall guy, and it ain't going to be me, so it's going to be you. Like,
It's going to be him.
That's also what dictators do in history. Like, and that's also led to them getting murdered, because they blame some other guy and threaten his life. So he's like, well, I'll kill you instead then. And that's happened throughout history too. I mean, well, for example, look at what happened to Mussolini when they caught him. I mean, it wasn't his generals or anything. It was the citizens, but they hung him upside down. So yeah, it doesn't end well. I think almost every single dictator has been murdered terribly at the end of their reign. The only one that's ever lived that died of natural causes is North Korea, but I forgot the guy's name. Kim Jong something, the first one. He's the only one, the only dictators ever to actually just live out his life and not be terribly murdered. Because it usually doesn't end well.
Hey, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Do V and Evie have a relationship in the comic?
No.
Okay.
Good.
Just a friendship.
Good.
Okay.
Because it's really dumb. Hey, ask the question. I don't. They don't kiss. So, well, I guess
They do kiss.
She kissed the mask, Bill.
They did
Was
kiss
it
the
earned?
mask, No, it was not. It's stupid. Stupid. It's very writery and dumb.
Did y'all come up? Did y'all come up with that? Is it earned? The kiss? Is it earned?
It's a joke from when we did Thor. Bill went on a tangent about it, and ever since then, it's become a thing on the show.
To be fair, it's a very good thing. I 100% agree with that. And honestly, I think pretty much everyone does that. And I think I remember listening to that because I do talk about that with my husband, especially because we joke about straight relationships in movies and everything and how they're not very well planned out. So saying is it earned is a very good.
I mean, it's
a very good question.
Stockholm syndrome in another sense, like he tortured her, but I mean, I'm okay with the ending. I know we'll jump back, but like I'm okay with the stuff happening to the ending, but I'm not okay with her kissing the mask because like I'm okay with her believing in his ideals, but still thinking this man's a piece of shit and not being romantically attracted to him.
Yeah, it's not earning the fact that she's allowed to say, hey, you know what? He's the lesser of two evils. But yes, he's still evil. I'm not now all of a sudden magically in love with this person. Like that, it doesn't ring true. It doesn't. I'm very glad to hear the comic does not take that route because it's a dumb route. Luckily, it's a very minor part of this movie. It is almost inconsequential to the point where I forgot for a second she kisses the mask. So I mean, that's how little it matters in this. Yeah. But it's unnecessary and it's I think it's much better if she's a reluctant partner and says, look, you're garbage, but you know what? The world we live in is worse, and I'm going to make that choice to do that. Yeah, but yeah, it's very dumb.
Yeah, it's not seen.
There's a really weird joke I wanted to make. I'm gonna go off of into a really, really fucked up tangent.
Like
Since we're there,
episode.
yeah. So we have a scene where the detective says he figures out everything, and he basically goes. It basically gives you a big bunch of flashes of even scenes that haven't happened in the movie yet. And he basically says that he's figured it out, and he knows what's gonna go on to where basically you end up realizing everything connects, which I think is actually a really cool plot point to point out, which is the government does create its own reasoning to be taken down. Because technically, if they hadn't experimented, they wouldn't have created V. Experimenting also killed Evie's brother. Killing Evie's brother killed her parents, and technically she also wouldn't have gotten involved if that situation hadn't happened. So
they also wouldn't have taken power because it's because of the fear that they get power.
Yeah. And you do see some scenes later on in those scenes of him flashing and it's showing everything over and over again. What is it? You see V get shot, which is later in the movie, and things like that, and a couple other scenes too. Funny enough, I mentioned that, and there's a joke from South Park which has nothing to do with this, but I think it's funny. It's the idea of the government creating its own Joker, and there's a point in South Park where they're the whole episode is they're worried about creating Mexican Joker. And they're like, what's Mexican Joker? And it's like, well, since we have a bunch of kids that have been taken by ICE, one of them will survive and want to get revenge, making him the Joker. So should we even be doing this? And it's played off as a joke, but it really is a whole thing of like, yeah, you pretty much ask for this whenever you start torturing people who don't deserve it. But funny enough, during his whole transit and this whole talk about him going off of what's going to happen, there's also scenes of finally something happening in the current time, which is a little girl we've been seeing throughout the entire movie, dressed up and getting shot, which is really the only part of this movie hasn't aged well because they do the smart thing and beat up the fingerman who shoots her, as opposed to what happens now when a child gets shot, everyone just said thoughts and prayers. So, I mean...
Fair.
I mean, I always think of the line when, I forget which school shooting it was, but... Paul Ryan, a senator from the great state of Ken.
I'm not talking about him.
Wisconsin. He had said one of his. I'm not gonna quote word for word, but I'm pretty damn close. He said, "We do thoughts and prayers because thoughts and prayers work." And I will never. I mean, I'm pretty sure that is the word for word what he said at something because they were trying to get gun control, and that was his reply. And he also retired right after. Maybe he retired in 2017 or something. Piece of shit guy. But like that's always been my thing. It's like that's why I don't ever say thoughts and prayers to people. I never do because I'm like it's hypocritical. Like one, I don't pray because I don't really believe in God as much. I'm kind of, but like so I don't say to people. I say I say I feel for you. Or I'll say something, but I'll never say thoughts and prayers because I don't. One, I hate that phrase now. Thanks to that asshole. So.
I only say it in the most sarcastic, ironic circumstances.
Same. I've said it that way too, but I will never say it. Like, I mean, I've had people say it to me who meant it. And I'm like, I appreciate your thought. Like, I appreciate that you mean it because you do believe and you're not being a jackass, but like, I can't say it back to you because you don't want me to. Like when a Texan says, "Oh, God bless your heart." They don't mean
it's very Southern. Yeah. Bless your heart.
Oh.
Bless your heart is
fuck you.
Yeah, basically. It's basically that, yeah.
It's worse than fuck you.
It really
I had
is.
a friend of mine who I used to work with, who was Texan, and he was on a phone call with somebody, and he told me at the end of it, he's like, "Oh, God bless your heart," and they weren't from Texas. So and that's what he explained to me. Yeah, I was like, I wasn't saying, but it was fuck you.
Yeah, bless your heart is fighting words. It really is. It's not. Yeah.
Well, I learned something new today, which means I have several phone calls to make when I get back to work to fucking cuss someone out.
Oh, you're from Texas.
Oh no, we have people. I get phone calls from people in Georgia, and they say that every once in a while. So that
bless your heart.
Yeah.
That usually means you are not helpful at all with my IT problem, but you know what? You sure did try. It's such a condescending. It's so bad. It sucks.
God, I want to bang my head against the goddamn fucking.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That was spot on, Bill. Goddamn.
It was. Bill could do voices. I do want to talk about like
to terrify.
when that girl gets killed and then the people just beat the shit out of and kill the cop or the fingerman. Like I think that's that's not what would happen. We have seen personally in history, but like I like the idea where the cops like something bad is going to happen and Creedy's going to act the only way Creedy knows how, which is more lockdowns and which then lead to more issues. I mean, it really made me think of 2020 and what happened to George Floyd. It made me think of that, and again, I don't think I've watched this movie since 2020, so I'm like, this is hitting differently. The virus, I'm like, COVID, the protest, the girl gets shot, George Floyd, I'm like, this is different.
Who wants to tell Mike?
Go for it.
It's your
Girl's not
favorite
dead.
game lately.
Girl's not dead, Mike.
Are you sure?
She's in the ending where everyone's pulling their mask off.
Girl's dead.
Other people that also pull off their mask are definitely dead.
Yeah, Dietrich's dead.
The woman that was in the cell,
it's symbolic.
she's dead. Yeah,
it's symbolic. Okay.
Yeah, those people are definitely not alive.
Yeah, no, but the movie is confusing in that way because they are literally pulling their masks off and in the crowd. It's meant. It took me a while too because again, this is me after 50-something odd viewings. Well, again, let's be honest, a lot of it was while doing laundry or something in Ann Arbor, Michigan. But
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
My first job out of college, I traveled around the country doing IT work for a company, and I used to live places. I lived in different places for a month at a stretch. So I'd be in Michigan for a month, or I'd be in Bealton, Virginia for a month, or I'd be in Port St. Lucie for a month or 5 weeks. I did that for like 3 years out of college. Hence why I always had a stack of DVDs with me because pre-streaming.
That makes sense.
Okay. So real quick, I will apologize for that, mainly because I am stoned now and was stoned back when I watched the movie. But before that, obviously, I have facial blindness. So like I could meet someone.
Oh, that's fair.
And then like 2 hours later, they'll be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Who are you? I don't remember your name." So that's also probably why I didn't notice all the other people taking their mask off were dead. So
not everybody, but certain ones for sure that you know of are dead.
Yeah, the last one they show is the girl who is basically the inciting incident for this revolution to start.
For me personally, I have amazing facial recognition. I have found out over the years. Like even in 2020, I recognized people that I hadn't seen in over 6 years that I worked with. And they had a mask on. I could still tell who they were. Like and these are people that that's just something I have learned about myself, that I can recognize your face. Like example, I was working at a FedEx and a doctor I knew of, my son's doctor, when he was like 4 or 2, and my son at the time was like 15 or maybe 14. But still, it'd been over 10 years since I seen this guy, and I recognized him, but I didn't know where. I'm like, I know you, but I don't know from where. And it didn't click to me after he left. I'm like, oh yeah, he was a doctor. But like, I still recognized him. And this is a guy that I've seen a couple times when my son was little. Like, it wasn't something that stuck with me, but like, I have really good facial recognition skills. Except when I ran into my ex, I'm pretty sure at one point I could not recognize her for the life of me. I don't even know if it was her still. I'm pretty sure it was because the woman acted weird. But it was like one of those things where I'm like, that's also my example of how trauma can really affect your brain. Because I recognized people like I meet once that came in my store at some point, but I couldn't recognize a woman I was with for a year. Like, almost fun. So there's my rant. But when Evie comes back to the bunker, because it's November 5th of the following year, I do like her comment where she's like, I saw a coworker, I dropped my money, and she picked it up and handed it to me and didn't know who I was. I do like that. And the idea that some people, one, you probably think she's dead for sure. Like, her head is shaved. Like, you don't recognize who she is because you don't expect to see this person ever again, for one thing. So your brain reacts differently. And then when she does come back to the bunker, that's when V shows her the train that he's going to then want. He's like, but this is my last gift to you to send. I think, does he tell her he wants her to do it? Or is that after he comes back from Creedy?
No, he says that's her gift to her. And also that, what is it that he's also leaving her the house and everything too.
Okay. The part when like everything was Creedy where he goes to meet him and then Creedy just shoots the Chancellor, I think that's all pretty damn good. And when they shoot V the fuck up and he lives because he has a bulletproof vest, but he's still like dying.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I thought that was like, because I've seen this movie at least like twice, or at least kind of like twice. I saw it sometimes on TV. I legit was like, wait, is that really just how he dies? It's just being shot in the fucking head? Like this whole buildup of this being like the ultimate bad guy, and it's just That's it.
I mean, they're still human. I mean, just because they're terrible people, they're still human.
It is pretty bullshit, though. But that shows. I mean, honestly, that's how it is in real life, kind of. Like the comic book handles it better.
Okay.
I hate to say, the comic book, the High Chancellor is just shot by somebody in the street.
Oh,
I like that.
He's screwed over, but like it wasn't V. It wasn't any of his own people. It was just somebody he screwed over in the past and was like, you're going to die in the street now.
I like that
nice.
better. I also like the line when he's like, people shouldn't fear their government. Your government should fear their people.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite lines in it too. I agree with that. Yeah,
it's true.
Yep.
I mean, it is true. I mean, people don't I mean, I was thinking about that when we read the Batman Nightfall comic, which has not released at the point of this. And there's one part where Zaz, like, if we just rush him, he'll kill some of us, but we'll take him down. Doesn't work out so well. But that's what made me think of.
Yeah, like it's something that everybody listening would do well to remember.
I mean, you're in that situation. Like, people have power. I mean, governments don't work without the people. Like, if the people don't agree with something, I mean, that's why you need to get rid of the Electoral College and just make it by popular vote. But that's neither here nor there. Or at least make it better.
Electoral College is the dumbest fucking thing.
Doesn't make sense in today's world. I get why they did it. I mean, because, again, it was also meant to make sure that the people they cared about had the votes and not the people they didn't care about. But, like, it shouldn't exist in 2024.
Nope.
So, but, that ain't going to change.
The other thing that also I think is really funny, because funny enough, I think Mythbusters confirmed it several years later. Metal plate on your chest will not block bullets. If you were just to grab like a metal plate and put it on now, a bullet will go through it like tissue paper and you will get shot, period. So don't do that if you think that'll work.
I mean, to be fair, he did die.
Yeah, but when he pulls it off, you see dents like they blocked it, like, and like they missed the spots that didn't have metal. But like from when he rips it off, it looks like it kind of worked, and they got him in certain spots.
They shot him so much.
Mm-hmm.
Also, why does nobody aim for the head?
Batman logic.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a soldier. I'm not anything with a gun. I haven't even shot a gun in years, but I feel like if I was going to kill somebody, aim for the fucking head.
Well, police, they shoot center mass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but these aren't exactly
easier to hit. I'm sure they had some history in law enforcement, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not unreasonable to think that this regime recruited heavily from law enforcement.
No, that's what they do. I mean, history proves it, so. Okay.
Now times prove it, but whatever.
Yeah, that too, unfortunately. And I do like when the Spectre catches up to Evie, because V comes back to the train, V dies, and he's about to stop her, but then he just puts his gun down when he's talking with her and lets her just send the train off to destroy the Parliament. Like, I think that's a very, very powerful scene. And then when you see all the people coming, and like, this is a thing I don't think people realize enough, is like when you see this whole crowd coming to the building and it's so many people and the soldiers like, should we shoot or should we just let them go? You can't. If you shoot, you enter a whole different world. Ask the British how that worked out for them in Boston. Like, you can't just shoot people unprovoked like that.
You can. I know. China does it all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, good point.
Now we're banning China.
We weren't already.
I'm pretty sure I don't think I get downloads in China. To be honest.
Yeah.
I think I've said too much liberal stuff throughout this podcast.
They're pretty careful about the stuff that goes across their internet waves.
Your leader looks like Winnie the Pooh. Now we are.
There you go. That did it.
So if I go missing, there's multiple things that could have happened.
I'm the one who said it. So
that's right.
Bye.
Now you got me curious if we ever been in China. I don't think we have, but I'm curious now. We'll see if I can figure this out while we're talking. Nope, we have no downloads in China.
All right.
Yeah, we're not welcome there.
I'm sure that's fine. I
do not care. I mean, again, I'm a very liberal person, so I'm not exactly surprised about anything. I do think that, nope, I lied. We have, throughout the time of this podcast, there's been, in the last 2 years, there's been 116 downloads from China.
Huh.
So, whether or not that still happens, who knows? I've said a lot of shit.
Potentially sorry, Chinese fans.
Hello, Chinese fans.
Oh, they were in the last year, all those downloads. So,
Oh, fuck yeah, ni hao.
Oh, they were in the last 3 months.
Hey.
So, okay. Some people listen to the show.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we're not. People in Russia listen to us too. More people in China have listened to us than in Russia in the last 3 months.
Hi, Russia. Your leader also kind of sucks, apparently.
Not kind of, but we'll go with that. But if you listen to this podcast, you probably don't like him either. So, because I'm pretty sure people that would not agree with my ideas aren't listening to me talk anymore at this point. So,
hey, other countries, you can also tell us our leader sucks. Trust us, we already kind of know it.
Depending on what happens after this recording. Okay, but I do like you are right though. Like in China, they do that, but like I like in the movie that they don't do it. I think it makes sense. You shouldn't do it because it makes it not good. and hopefully we never do it in America.
You shouldn't do that.
So I do like Evie's comment on when she's up at the tower watching the explosion when she says V is my brother, V is my mother, he is you, he is me. Like I like that. I think that's good.
Everyone can be Spider-Man.
Pretty much. But so Ken, I wanted to ask you this, but that's supposed we kind of talk about, but like the mask with the people like that we know are dead. That's just supposed to be like symbolism, essentially.
Yeah, it is showing that their memory is going to carry on in the fight. Yes, they died, but this is what they died for, type of thing. Which little clumsy, but whatever.
I didn't mind it, but you are right.
Ken, is this how the comic ends?
No.
Okay.
No, blows up Parliament.
Oh.
And Fitch is like, well, some bitch, and walks off.
I do want the sequel story to what happens, but I'm also glad that doesn't exist.
Oh.
There's no sequel to this.
Ken?
Is there?
Is there a sequel?
I was hoping you'd say yes, there is.
No, there's no sequel.
Oh, no, yeah, no.
I'm aware of this before I open my mouth. Like, I've looked up.
Okay.
There's nothing else for this.
I would have loved for there to have been a sequel. That would have been great.
I mean, Alan Moore, maybe there wouldn't have been if he wouldn't have sold the rights, been cheated out of his rights.
Well, what would a sequel to this look like? Like, I don't know if I want to watch the political drama of Evie now becoming like a member of a different party, and then I don't know what that would look like.
Have you seen? Oh God, what is the last Hunger Games book? That's terrible.
Westwick? Oh wait, no.
I forgot what it's called.
What was that?
The third one that I don't like.
Mockingjay?
Yeah, that's your example right there.
Yeah, I don't. I've not seen them. I've seen like the first 4. I don't know how many I've seen.
Okay. Well, there's 5 movies. Yeah, and 2 of them are the last book, but the last book I don't like.
Okay.
Funny enough, the whole point of the second part of the movie, because Mockingjay split up into 2 movies because Harry Potter was popular. The entirety of of that movie doesn't even happen in the book because they frame like them breaking into the government building as like a big Hunger Games-esque game, but like if you read the book, none of that happened. It's just them trying to run in like normally and fall in a trap. So it's also pretty funny as well.
I think the first 2 books are really good, and I don't think she knew how to write anything else.
There's 2 more books.
Yeah, I mean Mockingjay I don't care for, and then there's another book which I do like. I like the movie, not the book.
There's a prequel that's already come out that they made a movie of, which is about
that movie's already out.
And it
snakes and something.
And we're getting another movie, which is even weirder because I wonder how they're going to play it. We're getting another book that'll be turned into a movie, which is about Hamish's game.
Okay. I'll watch them. So I can't say I won't because I know me. So all right. I like them. I just don't like Mockingjay, but I like the new movie that came out. The prequel. I thought that was pretty good. All right. Any other things to say about V for Vendetta?
Yep.
Please.
This is it. This is my moment to shine. So let's talk about Alan Moore and why he's so fucking pissed off.
Yes, I want to hear this.
Because, I know you said you wanted to cover this, and I think we could talk about this and still cover the book at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be at least a year, if not, knowing me more. So, yeah.
Yeah. Fine. Alan Moore hated this badly because he thought it basically took a story that is definitely much more American and put it over his theme work that was already established because they didn't have the courage to make a story take place in America.
Interesting.
He said that it was recast as a story about current American neoconservatism versus current American liberalism, which, I 100% see that. The original book is fascism as represented by Northspire, and V is not fighting for freedom. V is fighting for anarchy.
Yes.
That is literally what he's doing. He wants anarchy, not chaos. He wants anarchy. V is absolutely a terrorist.
Yeah, and
100%.
And it's funny because you're right. He does talk a lot about how government should be afraid of their people. But from what I've been reading about, and again, this is just me doing a little research beforehand, it definitely was supposed to have more anarchist ideals, which, again, believe in the government, whatever you want. I don't personally believe in anarchy. I think you do need a system of government of some sort.
I think you do too.
I don't think anarchy makes sense. I often wonder, like, 10 minutes after the explosion of Parliament, everyone kind of looks at each other and goes, all right, what's on the telly? Let's go back home, right? Like the rabble can't, the crowd can't do that. You know, it's you need something. Now, obviously, the fascist government needed to be changed and go down, but the answer is not anarchy. And I think that you're right, Ken. I think that was the main theme of the source material.
And like, this is a very defanged version of the book. It's made palatable for American audiences.
Sure. I'm actually really interested I don't read comics, but I actually would like to check that out.
I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
I would. Also, some stuntman information. Both David Leitch and Chad Stahelski were stuntmen in this movie. Chad Stahelski is the one who is naked in the fire.
Oh.
Okay.
And David Leitch is the one fighting in Victoria Station against Creedy and the other Fingermen.
Okay. Yep.
Both of them would go on to create John Wick.
Ooh. Excellent. That's a great connection.
So it's
Nice.
interesting that we go from The Matrix to V for Vendetta, and then V for Vendetta birthing the creative team that would bring us John Wick.
Now, here's the question. Now, I'll keep it very quick, obviously, because we are we're not over time. There is no time limit for this show, but boy, oh boy, we've been at this for a
The
while.
broadcast, guys. We've got to have room for the commercials.
That's fair. I've seen the first John Wick. I loved it. Are all the other ones good too? Because I haven't seen any of the other ones.
I wouldn't know. I'm waiting for that series to end so I can watch all of them.
Yeah.
I would recommend watching them. I think
Okay.
each one of them has something interesting going on, interesting enough to watch it.
Okay.
I don't think any of them are as good as the first one.
Okay. That's tempered expectations then, but they're worthwhile. Okay.
They're good enough.
Cool.
I will counter argument with Ken. I think the second one's also really, really good. Not as good as the first, but it's interesting to see where the story goes after that. But I have not seen the other two. And like I said, I refuse to watch anything John Wick until they officially announce that the series is over. Because I am sick of being left high and dry for like another 3 years for a movie.
I think you might be good to finish up.
Okay. I probably won't.
Nice. Those are interesting. Those are interesting information. That's cool.
I've only seen the first one. I saw the first one in theaters, and I've been interested. I've just not been interested enough.
You know what? You're super wrong, Ken. They're coming out with a prequel anime.
And a prequel and a spin-off movie.
Yeah, and a spin-off movie. So the series is not over yet.
He's just saying that
Prequel.
you don't need to wait. Just watch them.
Yeah, just watch them.
That's what
You know that if anything's popular, Hollywood's going to milk it for forever. And the longer you don't watch it, the more you're letting the terrorists win.
No.
Live your life. Enjoy what you want to watch.
That was funny, though.
Don't wait, because tomorrow's never promised.
Remember, guys, if I disappear, if you don't get your episode, there's something wrong.
If I disappear, assume I fell down the stairs.
I'm going to assume your TV tried to eat you.
You're never going to let me live that down.
No, I am not. Wait till we cover another Resident Evil film.
Wait till I buy that 90-inch TV and it actually does fucking fall on me.
I'll be very sad.
I'll be fine.
That's a really good story, though, when the TV did fall off the wall while you were watching Resident Evil
I'm so fucked.
3 or 4. I can't remember
That's-
which one.
That's what happens. Fate punishes you for watching bullshit.
You ain't wrong. That third movie is bullshit.
They're all bullshit. Every one of them. I don't care. We're not talking about this. It's not V for Vendetta.
All right, I don't have anything else to say. Should we go to Shelf Stacker Box?
I'm good, Phil.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. I'm also thinking of the editor in me where I'm like, I gotta piece this together and get this out by Tuesday, and today is Friday. But neither here nor there. So let's go to Shelf Stacker Box, and I'm gonna go first because I won. I'm gonna put this in the shelf. I really enjoyed this film. I've enjoyed it since I first saw it. I appreciate it even more now because of life. So yeah, definitely going on the shelf. Great fucking movie. Great performance by Natalie Portman. And I'm just happy to finally have covered this. And I'm happy that the stars align and this comes out on November the 5th and happens to be the day of of an election that could change things for our country for good or bad. So depending on what you see. Yeah. And Joe.
I will also put this on the shelf. I actually had a really good time with this, which is funny because like I said, I tried to watch before and just either saw parts and we're like, and we're interested. So I actually super liked watching it. I'm amazed how well it has aged too. And I'm hoping it continues to age well, honestly. So yeah, definitely shelf.
And Bill.
I'm going to put this on the stack. I like this movie quite a bit, but I think there's some clumsy moments in it that prevented it from being a full-on shelf. But I do appreciate what this movie tried to do. I think it's a fun one. I think it's 50 minutes. The first 50 minutes I think are fantastic, and then it starts to really lull. And the story, again, I know the story well because I've seen it 50 times, but I can see someone watching this for the first time being like, what's going on? What is Three Waters, Three Rivers, what's going on? I think the performances are by and large good to great. And this is a worthwhile watch. I think this is a fun movie, but not quite up to shelf standards. So I'm going to throw this solidly on the stack.
All right. And Mr. Ken.
I'm going to put it in the box.
What?
Damn.
Like, is it a well-made movie? Absolutely. Do I ever need to watch it again after this? I really don't. I would much rather go back and read the comic again because I think the comic actually says something. This is a fairy tale. And at the same time, it's also a haunting, cautionary tale. It's just, this movie, I don't feel like it entirely knows what it wants to be. And earlier, I think, and I don't remember, it was either Joe or Bill that said it, but each side of the political spectrum could see their V.
It was me.
Okay. Or it was you. Hey, that was a while ago, all right?
No, yeah, trust me, I know. It feels like we've only been talking 50 minutes, but then again, it's been broken into 3 parts, so it's been getting close to 3 hours.
Yeah.
But just the fact that each political spectrum could see V as being their political faucet for their ideology. I think that's a result of the filmmakers not making the movie that could have made a definitive statement and chooses not to. And that, to me, that's the whole point of this story, is to make a stand, make a choice. And when you play it safe, I feel like it dilutes the importance of it. So, yeah, box for me.
Okay.
Sean,
I know. No, that's a fair point. I get where you're coming from. When I made that comment, it's true. You can see it either way. And that's not... It's probably a good thing when you're trying to market it and get butts in seats, but it's not a good thing when people look at your movie and go, we idolize the wrong guy.
Yeah, and you do have a very good point, Ken, in that this is not dumb, but it's very hollow. This is a 5th grader's idea of how to damn the man, right? I think it's very hollow, and that's why I'm really interested in this source material. I might actually seek out a comic book for the first time in, I don't know, ever. So because what you've presented as the comic sounds much more interesting and nuanced and good. So as much as I enjoyed this for what it is, kind of this dumb, it's not big dumb, but it's kind of dumb and silly and a bit of a mess. I totally understand what you're coming from, man. So yeah.
All right. And the graphic novel is on Amazon, by the way. So I looked it up. Well, I was looking up Saga Swamp Thing to see about those, and then it showed me that, and I went, Did not order either yet because I got omnibuses of Batman to read before I start ordering more comics off Amazon to cover on the show. So, but the thought is there. Because we might cover this next year, depending, or a couple years from now. But we will get to the comic, Ken, because I've been wanting to do the comic too. Also, fun fact: comic was supposed to be on the show in 2020, but then shit happened. I'll leave it at that. So it never happened. But yeah, it was talked about.
You know what they say: shit happens.
I could say other things, but I'm not going to. So
you say that.
I say it too. Or one of my phrases I was using a lot a couple days ago is won't be my problem. That'll be someone else's problem. But that had nothing to do with politics. It had to do with other shit that I will not mention on here. God. So if you're still listening to this, I hope you voted. I hope you did your part to vote today if you listened to this the first day. Or if you're listening to this days later, I hope you did your part to vote no matter what happens, because your vote matters. And either I am dancing to the song of the Death Star blowing up, or I am not. hopefully I'm dancing to the Death Star song again like I did from 2020. And I literally did. I remember the day I got the news, I put that song on, and I was just dancing in my kitchen and crying. So happy. So hopefully I'll be doing that again. We shall see. And I think we should go to plugs. Ken, where can we find you at?
People can find me on my I Swear to God It's Coming movie podcast, which is going to happen.
So now you're naming it I Swear It's Coming movie podcast?
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely.
Is there a name yet?
There is a name. I am not announcing the name yet.
You just said movies. I swear I'm going to make this movie. I'm kidding.
I want to wait until I actually have some episodes recorded and ready to go before I announce the name.
That's fair.
So none of these people listening steal my idea.
That's right.
But yeah, you can find me there. You can also find me on many episodes of Games for My Mom Pound. I'm still going to be hanging around here. You haven't gotten rid of me just yet.
How about I just haven't gotten rid of you? I'd be very sad to see you go. So who else am I going to talk about Hellraiser movies with? Because I am going to finish that damn series at some point.
Damn right you are.
I don't kind of want to, and I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, I really hate dolls, by the way. We were at an old mansion, and it had a really old doll from like the early 1900s. I'm like, I fucking hate dolls. I really don't like dolls.
Nah, they're the worst.
And Bill, where can we find you at?
As always, I actually was thinking about this. I might be on more episodes of this podcast than mine. I really might be. I should total them up at some point if I had like nothing but time. If not here, it could be true. It's got to be over 100. It's got to be over 100 at this point. I mean, we did 20 something MCU movies. Anyway, podcast. I do a show that's not this called A Gamer Looks at 40. If you dig nostalgia, we are in the middle of a Final Fantasy series that will take the rest of my natural life. But it's all good. I'm taking my time. I'm savoring the flavor of the classics. We're in the middle of them right now. We just finished Final Fantasy VI. We're about to embark upon Final Fantasy VII. And those are chunky meatballs to ingest. So once those are over, we will be... Yeah. It's been about 5 weeks or so since we.
Yeah, because I've seen your episodes pop up. Like, that's not a Final Fantasy VII.
And if you want to have just the best time ever, you can watch my wife and I playing through Fallout New Vegas on Twitch and TikTok. It's been an absolute blast. So if you can't get enough of me on this show and my own podcast, then my much more entertaining wife is playing New Vegas, and she's having a blast, and it's been fun watching her do it. So check us out on those platforms every Tuesday evening.
Oh, nice. Hey, they will be coming the next. You'll be doing on November on Remember the 5th of November.
Yep, we sure will be. We'll be a rep. We will hopefully again will be just be good news.
I'll never forget in 2016, I was at work and my manager, who was an asshole, I remember going, oh, Trump's winning. And I remember and this was before I found out he's a complete asshole. I'm like, more reason not to like you, buddy. So I'll never forget that.
I remember a very distinct feeling of fear in my stomach. Mm-hmm. I remember having a sinking feeling of this is not good. Just literally was a sinking fear. So hopefully we don't have that again.
Well, we don't have Cambridge Analytical. I don't think we have Reddit trying to make him win again like we did in 2016. That's real, by the way. Maybe not Reddit. It's 4chan. 4chan was involved in him winning, by the way. So that's legit real. And they did it for the meme sake. There's a whole documentary on it on Netflix that talks about that. Also, it's about from the Anonymous and stuff like that. It talks about how Anonymous got started. It's really good. But yeah, having Trump win in 2016 was a meme to the 4chan groups too. So, and some of the stuff that people believed was actually all memes that they then passed on as real. And then the people that Trump started buying in as real information and using in his bullshit.
The QAnon stuff.
Yep. That's where that comes from. The pizza thing with the pedophiles and all the Democrats that comes from 4chan. A lot of that weird shit that I remember them mentioning. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's all 4chan memes.
For the Pizzagate.
They're all 4chan memes that they started on the board like many, many years ago. Then they went, and people started buying it. Yeah. Fun fact.
Unfortunate. Not so fun.
No, that part's not fun. But the fact that I like knowing that now. I mean, that's what I tell people. I'm like, his chances are less because you don't have all these different things playing a part to why he won in 2016. I hope I'm right.
I do too.
I know. Mm-hmm. So, but funny thing, my mother said to me today, she's like, if Trump does win, you can take your father for a month because I don't want to hear him because he fucking hates Trump. So, and I'm like, he'll do my dishes. He can hang out with me. We haven't hung out since I was like 17. I am not 17 anymore. I am in my late 30s. I'm like, man, sure, ship him. I'll take him for a month. It'll be great. We can watch movies together finally. We can walk my dog together. I'm like, sure, I'll take him. I got an extra room. He'll clean my house too. So hey, this is perfect. When he does it in his house. So, but yeah, it's the one shiny. It won't happen either way. But it was like, yeah, that's one good thing I could come out of this, but not gonna happen. So, I'm excited and not excited. I just want November 5th to be over with, and I want it to be November 6th, and for the world to be okay. So, all right. If you enjoyed this episode, over 700 episodes podcast, you can find everything we do on Podbean. If you want to support us, we do have a Patreon with a little dog. You vote in our Patreon poll. We have 1 to 2 a month. Right now it's 1 because I'm just trying to get caught up, but there will be 2 again soon. Probably, hopefully December, if I can get shit recorded in time. So definitely go check all that out. We have Discord. Please join our Discord. Chat with us. You want to be on the show? That's how you do it. I asked for casting things in there. You can suggest things. And next year, a lot of the suggestions are going to be the Patreon polls because I need to get that shit done. So that's how you can affect the show. Want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena and Hell Has Fury. You can follow her on TikTok and Instagram. Definitely go check her out. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok. We're on all those different places. Rate and reviews where you get your podcast. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.
So long.